you could still see that they were rocky at the beginning, and I thought maybe there's a world where this was going to be the tournament that they give up. And frankly, it could have still been, even when you were watching the final, like realistically, it could have been another tournament that they could have given up. You know, it was the same with the Spirit final, you know, where the first two maps, you see every world where Navi could have won, should have fucking won Nuke, obviously. And then they still don't. And that's just Vitality for you these days, where they will just recover everything possible. They will win all the clutches. They will not lose a map in playoffs for fucking 27 maps in a row. Like it's getting a bit ridiculous.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans across the globe, welcome back to another episode of HLTV Confirmed, streamed exclusively to you on Kick. And you can be in chat and you can win prizes later on the show. We'll have Skinionaire coming up. We got What Are the Odds? But I need to shout out Stake. Remember to gamble responsibly. One of our partners who make this all possible over here. Now, we're winding up another week of the Counter-Strike news cycle. It doesn't really stop. Right, it's not newspapers anymore. It's just the internet, and you can read it all the time, and you can tweet about it, and be on Reddit, and talk to your friends in Discord, and you can play matches, and you can just always be plugged in. Nothing is stopping you from being plugged in all the time. Will it really,
never stop?
Never, yeah, just never stop. Now, look, gentlemen, today's episode, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to be discussing, obviously, Astana and Atlanta, that overlap. What does it mean for the scene? What does it mean for that event? What are some of the key storylines there? We're going to be wrapping up rivals, maybe getting into a bit of the nitty-gritty of that. We've got a quick whip around to do regarding just some smaller or side news topics. But I came in today and I'm sitting here and I have some opinions on some things. We were just discussing one of those things, and we'll get into that later before we went live. But when we get to the actual Counter-Strike, it's not that I don't have opinions. I'm sure I do. I just don't know where to point my attention for my opinions right now. Like everything feels a little bit like scrambled eggs. Everything,
Okay.
we're in this limbo period. The major's coming. The team's already qualified. Some roster changes are happening. Some roster changes aren't happening. We know things are going to change. We know things aren't going to change. And we're kind of just like seeing how these events unfold until the major rolls around. But those events have big impact on the quality and form of these teams. But yeah, look, I'll wait till we get to the. I'm already digressing.
I feel like what I think, and I feel like it aligns with what you're saying here, is there are some little trends and stuff that we can see, but like you can't really draw any conclusions off of anything we've seen in the last week, or probably we'll see
the last couple
in the
of
next
weeks.
week.
Yeah.
Like there are some things, well, okay, we can talk about this and that, but like it doesn't feel as the cutoff to the major was. It's like, okay, now we can draw some conclusions of what we saw in the first 3-4 months of this year. But now it's just like it's this little. It almost feels like preseason, friendly games in like a football season. Oh, you saw this young guy play. Oh, he has some talent. Oh, we played a Chinese tour. It's like, okay, no one really cares about the results, but it's still, there are some indications. We're doing this good, we're doing that bad, and then Vitality wins, and then we all go home.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's like the one takeaway that we can take is like Vitality can play a C game and still win tournaments. That's a takeaway this week, I think.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot like with the sentiment that's, I don't know if it's going around. It could just be one that I'm feeling here, but it is a weird one, and one that I haven't even tried to decipher yet. So maybe we can get into that today. But we got Prof, we got Striker, we got Lucas on the ones and twos. Let's just jump into things and get the ball rolling, shall we? Let's kick off with the top comment. So for those of you playing at home, I'm sure if you watch the VOD on YouTube, you know that you can make a comment. If that comment gets voted as the best comment of that VOD before the next episode, you'll find yourself taking home, or maybe getting sent to your home, not taking home, a Vitality jersey thanks to Stake. And this is where I hand it over to Prof and let him take it away.
I mean, I will say that the sending of these jerseys has been very delayed. Some people are probably watching is like, I didn't get shit yet. Let's just say it's not on us. there are some miscommunications. Some stock has been sold out. I guess fucking Vitality is winning a lot, so people want their stuff. So they're currently out of stuff that was supposed to be, you know, handed over and then sent over. So it's been a bit of a mess there. Apologies on that, but it's gonna get there sooner or later. Maybe you get some cooler ones. Who knows? But honestly, the comments also this week hasn't been too crazy. I enjoyed a few on Spotify, so I'm going to highlight those. Obviously, there's been this ongoing meme for 5 episodes about the mouse jersey and your T-shirt being on like a giveaway for Spotify. It's not going to happen. But Toby says, screw the mouse jersey for Spotify comments. Let's get BC game. It'll be a great marketing opportunity. It's kind of like a little inside joke reference to what we've been speaking about. So I like that. You know, this guy, he's been following. He's been listening.
He's paying attention.
He's paying attention. He's writing down notes. So shout out to Toby one time. And then Aquitas1990. Top Spotify comments should get at least one of those Gamer Legion jerseys that nobody wanted. That's also a great reference to an article that was very, very big. So this guy was also paying attention. So shout out to these 2 guys. Great comments.
Also a great nickname, Aquitas.
What does that mean?
Not even Chad knows. I thought that was going to get a reaction out of him.
I'm trying to look at the screen, and it's just my screen's just blurry. What does it say?
Aquitas.
That is isn't that like a 1.6 or 1.5 reference?
It's like an anti-cheat that was like towards the end of 1.6. Yeah.
It could have been there was a player that used to play for a team in Western Australia called DSR, which stood for Demons Spawn Reborn. Kind of cringe, but I wanted to be a part of their team. Anyway, they had a player that was known as like Aqua something, and that's what the bell was rung for me there. But this guy was born in 1990, and I tell you, these blokes are probably a good 5 or 6 years older than me, so it ain't the same guy. But mate, why is I don't know how I'm meant to be able to read. Where are you reading? Oh, Prof's reading it from a document. That's
yeah.
I'm reading from the preview, and I'm like, mate, either my eyes went overnight or it's GG. Anyway,
don't do that. That would be pretty difficult. The top comment, the winning comment from YouTube from E-Day, not D-Day, the day after D-Day. It's impressive how fast Sensu has gone from major grand final to the pits of Counter-Strike hell in less than 12 months.
And that won.
That was no copy pasta, no huge story, just a pure statement. Why do people
like that so much?
Yeah, it's very interesting.
If you upvoted this comment, guys at home, why'd you like it so much? Let us know in the YouTube comments.
Next week.
What tickled your pickle about E-Day's comment? Because it's not.
I guess it's just the truth. That's sometimes the truth is.
But usually when you speak the truth, people don't like that.
Don't like the truth.
As the meme goes.
Like Prof was talking to a Turkish fan in the comments who doesn't like the truth. So, you know, there's some of them don't like the truth, Striker.
What did I comment on? I forgot. It was...
I don't know. I think it's
I'm in the comments. I'm in different comments, different videos. I'm always there.
I think
these
we
days.
were mentioning regarding, you know how I said, oh, there was the whole Alexi
the rumors about Woxic and all these things. Yeah.
And then this guy, Ash won't be better than Faber at Aurora. Bear incompetent. Am I reading the wrong comment? I might not be reading the one.
No, it was one where it said like, oh, how we turned around the whole story. It was like super sure that Aurora was getting these like Alexi B and Molodoy.
That was never the case.
And I was like, this couldn't be farther away from the truth. But you know, this is how news gets spread, I guess, these days. It's like you literally said
dumb Twitter accounts quote, and it's like lacking content. It's like, what the fuck?
I heard this, but I don't think it's true. It becomes it's 100% happening. It's just like I mean, as much as it's, you know, it is hard to put out stuff out there. It's always going to be like, you know, you take some responsibility for anything you say, even if you say it's like just a random thing you heard. It's always going to have a little life of its own after that. But it is quite funny.
If people are actually interested in the thing that was said, then watch the fucking thing that was said. So you have the context of the thing that was said, and instead of reading a thing, not having the context, and then making your own assumptions on top of it. What's the point? What are we doing? We're just making up fucking stories? Like, anyway.
Welcome to the internet, Chad.
Anyway, so E-Day, the email on screen. Send an email. Get your jersey. Might take some time, but you might get it. You will get it. That's a Prof guarantee. I got
100%.
Prof's phone number. If you need it, I won't give it to you, but just know I have it. Okay, let's keep the show rolling, shall we? I don't want to get too bogged down. We'll get into some stuff a little bit later. See, I'm getting one guy by chat. I'm gonna go close it already.
This guy's trolling.
Like, do you reckon the trolls because of the amount of exclamation points that it must be?
I think he's fucking around. He's not even trying to upset you. But
all right, guys.
He succeeded anyway.
Here's what's happening, everybody. If you're an early viewer, if you're here now, if you're live, if you're in the stream, if you're in Kick Chat, if you're logged in, if your name's Echo Whiskey, you know what to type because we're doing Skinionaire bright and early, fucking 9 minutes in. It might be a new world record for Skinionaire being played at the beginning of a HLTV Confirmed episode. Now, look, I'm not a numbers guy. We got Smart Backwards. We got SEO. We got Nero. We got lots of guys for these things. I ain't that guy, but you know what to do at home. You got to type. Type till your little fingers start to bleed. Just type that code word. Type it time and time and time again. Just know that the sales at HLTV, they're looking at the amount of times you type and they're going, yes, type some more. Because right now we're playing Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire. And your raffle ticket is those letters that you're smushing together to make words. And those words, they could win you $50 today, everybody. Let's get into it. Got to be like Alex Jones then. Just fucking going off the tree for no reason. All right. Which player returned to Hotu? Fitch, Gokushima, Kato, or Duke Fushura?
These are some banger names. Duke Fushura was removed, so Kato returned. I'm pretty sure. Fitch
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Fitch is probably gonna take out bring out the trophy. And
I've heard that Fitch likes cheeses. Shout out to Frankie Ward one time. Classic. Absolute classic.
That's such a banger under the radar clip.
It's a banger. It's too good.
Have you noticed how every banger clip has Blade just like as a bystander in it? He's just always there.
He's the lightning rod for banger moments.
The other one wasn't so much a bystander as much the instigator, you know. So
well, I wouldn't say instigator.
Not instigator.
I think, you know, maybe Feist. No, not even that. All right, lock it in, Kato. Correct answer is Kato. Bang, bang, bang. Okay, just so I'll say the theme of today's quiz, things that happened in the Counter-Strike space. That's the quiz.
It's not.
Okay, cool. Just things, just general things. General things that happen.
Theme is things and occurrences.
Quick skim of HLTV headlines that nobody was really talking about. There you go. That's this week's quiz. Question
theme
number 2
of the quiz is questions. Moving on.
M80 beat who to win the TWC North America online event? Was it A, Wildcard, B, Zomblers, or C, Boss?
I have the answer. It's B, barely anyone, because most of the games were forfeit.
Which was kind of crazy.
7 forfeits or something in like a top 8.
Oh dear. But the answer, Striker, is of course.
He doesn't know.
I think it's wildcard, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, there you go. I think it's wildcard.
Locking in A, wildcard. Correct answer is A, wildcard. What a confidence boost for M80, guys, with a major ahead of themselves. They're taking on this international hodgepodge, thrown together, jack of all trades, wildcard roster, which is no longer using ChatGPT but Claude. So that's why they're performing a little bit better.
Yeah.
But good stuff to M80. All right, question 3. 100 Thieves, or 100 T, which is like 100 tablespoons, lost to which team while trying to qualify for Stake Ranked Episode 2? Was it A, Magic, B, General Mates, C, Sharks? I'll be honest, I've forgotten the answer to this one.
I think it's Magic.
Did they lose to Magic for the Astana qualifier?
They played Magic at some point.
K27 in the Astana qualifier.
I think it's Magic, but I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm thinking of the same tournament either.
I mean, this just happened like a few days ago because based on the theme.
I think that's what it is.
Okay, let's go for that.
I don't know, man.
Let's go for Magic.
Looking at Magic, they have a fun logo, but the correct answer is the Sharks. They swim in the depths, they come from Brazil, and they eat thieves. As they eliminate.
And they're friendly, and they're loyal.
Yeah, these guys got
they won
teeth.
the whole thing, but I didn't know who they beat on the way.
Magic were playing Gentle Mates. I think those games were running simultaneously.
That's a rough one. That's a rough one there. It's an L for us. L for 100 Thieves. Still haven't really seen them at any relevant tournament, so it's been going a bit slower maybe than than expected.
They'll make it. They're following the formula. And we all know the VRS is about winning games and following formulas. All right. Question number 4. Alter Ego was forced to use a stand-in because Boros was barred for what? Too many mice, discriminatory language, and insincere apology.
I couldn't watch that video. That video was diabolical. Just the energy of it. It was not good. The answer is B, discriminatory language, which was iconic, to be honest.
This one's apparently this story goes deeper. I didn't really follow the rabbit hole of the story, but apparently he was barred not because of the clip, but because of something after that.
Yeah, there was an incident apparently where he did kind of the same stuff to like the admin staff of the tournament, effectively, you know. Bro. So,
but then he also say he wanted to. There's I think it was a telegram for Paul Bandana, which is one of the guys in the team, who said like that they wanted to obviously kick him for a while. Obviously, as every team that has Boros on it, it's never. It's like there's only 2 states a team can have. Either you don't have Boros on your team, or you want to kick Boros. These are only 2 states a team can have for every team in the world. So essentially, he wanted to use that term for a strat. He wanted to call a strat like that. Yeah. So that's just one of the things that obviously that happened. Honestly, just everything you hear about this guy is the worst. Like, if anyone gives him another shot, it's like it's really on you at this point for doing this.
Bro, you guys did him dirty with the picture. Mira did him dirty with the picture that he's used of the guy. He either looks like he just lost a match and he's crying, or he's stoned. And neither are going well for the. He's 22 now. He's already had more drama. He's already had more dramas in like a short span of years than what most players have their entire careers. And this is only the stuff that is coming out publicly, right? Because I've heard a Boros story or 2 in the background, and you know
or 5. It's just some of them are just sad. Yeah. Some of them are just like, why? Some of them are very disturbing. So it's not good. Definitely not good.
Fucking hell. Okay. Question number 5. Here we go. Ascend, bid farewell to who? Awaken, Asleepin, or Han?
Good one.
I mean, honestly, usually it's just hard because this guy also has.
Yeah, he's in different teams all the time too.
He's not really, it's not really going well for him. But Awaken is the guy. He's the guy.
Locking in Awaken. Correct answer is Awaken. So 4 out of 5. It's not the grand prize. You will not be the carryover champions, but you will be here every week to attempt it. So we will pick a lucky winner to be taking home a skin valued at $15 dues. And in this economy, that goes a long way. You might be able to get a couple of liters of gas in your car. Go down the shops, buy yourself a Domino's pizza. And have a good time.
Lucas was making some improvements to the show, as you can see. Oh, here you go.
Ooh.
Mr. Bob the Builder is in chat. Shout out one time.
Bob the Builder, can he fix it? Bob the Builder.
Here it is.
He can. And suffer rain. Okay, so they've done there, suffer and rain, but as in raining like the champs, not raining like the sky. And there's only 1 R, so it could be suffer. Yeah. Anyway, you guys get it, or ain. But regardless, you're the winner. It wasn't Hazazag. It wasn't Bake Chef 420.
Shout out Bake Chef 420.
Suffer rain. All right, suffer rain. Chat to Lucas in Kick Chat, and we'll sort all that out. All right, let's get waffling. So Cash wasn't officially in last time we were talking, but we knew it was going to be in. We didn't know what that was going to entail. We were having some speculations, right? I think we were all under the understanding, or at least assumption, that the map was going to be rebuilt, which the conclusion is yes. However, as opposed to being structurally changed, what Valve did was revert the map back to when Volcano was still involved in
like the most the one that was actually used competitively, right?
Yeah, so they took anything that FM Pone had changed or added in his more recent updates over the last span of time, like Prof saying, since it was last in competitive play, and rolled it all back and removed it all. So it's essentially just like the version that we were playing for all those years. People are saying actually, Botas saying actually a lot of wallbang spots are gone. Yeah, but there's also a lot of, I don't want to say they're newer wallbangs, but they feel like they're more intentional wallbangs. And I think that's something that if you look at any Valve map, you'll see they're very clear on areas that are bangable or not bangable, and whether those things should be added or changed, I guess the future will tell. But I think it's interesting to see them essentially revert everything FMPone did. Like, I did think that they were going to rebuild it from the ground up anyway, but you know how he put that like window in middle, for example, right? So they've just kind of,
well, there wasn't that many. Like, what else was there? That
they
was
added the box over towards A, right, on what I would call idiot wall. So
Yeah, so you could play around that.
Yeah, so they got rid of that, and they definitely like scaled back some of those things, which I thought was interesting. They wouldn't try and come up with their own way, but I think it's nice because last time we saw it competitively is almost exactly like this iteration is, just with the new mechanics of CS2 and how the game's been evolving since that point. And as well as that, then if Valve want to change anything, they're balancing it from a point that they know the game was played at a high competitive level on, as opposed to FMPone's changes, which were never played in a competitive sense whatsoever. So they've given themselves like that starting block to go off of if we do see any changes or anything, if anything happening. Prof, you brought to my attention that I think it was on Reddit today. Leaderfied put up, I put it in my little document here somewhere. Leaderfied put up a, I guess an infographic would be the best way to explain it, which is showing how popular Cache is since its return. It's only in Premier. Sorry, it's only in comp. It's not in Premier, but essentially on the first day of its release, it was played more than Dust 2 and Mirage combined, which is pretty crazy. Now, it's had a pretty quick decline back down, but it joins Dust 2 and Mirage. Obviously, there's a novelty factor right now, but it is being played a lot in the comps and stuff. So, yeah, have you boys had a chance to get out there and have a play?
Yeah, like one or two games. But I mean, the frustrating part is it's competitive, so you'll just play kind of bots, and it's not going to really be a competitive experience, unlike the name. So I ran around, got like, you know, a vibe of the map, and it's okay. I mean, I think the biggest selling point is like there is some history with this map, so people kind of like it from that angle. So the adoption is, as we see on this graph, it's much better than most maps that you could have tried to bring back to the pool. So this is kind of the initial take.
That's a very key point that you're making right there, in terms of maybe some of the reluctancy for newer players, whether that's people just playing for home for fun, or whether that's professional teams. When a new map comes in, getting people actually to play and adopt the map, we seem like, you know, stats aren't pointing very strongly in some of the more recent additions to the map over the last couple of cycles. So you would assume this one will just slot it, like, depends on what it replaces, right? That I guess that becomes the next big question off of this, of what does it replace? Do they try and remove a much loved Dust 2 Mirage, or even something that might play similar, like an Ancient, off the board, right, to bring something like this in? Or do they remove something that could be seen as a little bit more tactical or slower, like an Overpass or Inferno? Or then do they go to something which is struggling in terms of its picks at the moment, being an Anubis or an Overpass, right? So there's a lot of options available to them to be able to replace these maps. Usually Valve are at the major and they're asking us or the players or whatever, like, oh, what map do you think should be replaced to it? So it tends to go, they make their mind up about it. I don't want to say last minute, but they don't tend to have made at least a decision, as far as we know, of what is getting replaced until the major's concluded. But that's an assumption. Maybe they're just playing games with us when they talk to us. I don't know. But either way, you have to assume Cache comes in after the major.
Yeah, I don't think they ask us about that, like, any of the times that we talk to them, like, just at the majors. So
maybe
every time I talk about the maps,
you talk with them about VRS for like 1 hour 30 minutes. So then there's no other time to talk about like maps and similar topics.
I've tried to talk to them more about, like, you know, how's the family? I'm trying to just break out of the Counter-Strike conversation every time, because I imagine that, you know, at some point they get a bit fed up at talking about that shit. Like, so I try to treat them like human beings. It's crazy. It is crazy, and I probably shouldn't do it. That though,
like they're always like, we're happy to talk to people, but nobody is coming to talk to us sometimes, and I'm like, how is that even fucking possible? Like, none of the players.
I've had some, like, some players that I've said, oh, you know, at the major, like I can, if you want, I can go and do the intro and take you to their lounge or whatever if you're not playing and stuff and you want to talk to Valve. And some of the responses I've had from players is really baffling. It's like, oh no, they should come to me. And it's like, what the fuck?
Whoa.
Oh yeah, mate, you wouldn't believe it. I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, you don't want to talk to like, you're the people who play the game the most. Like, anyway,
that's like entitled in the rear view mirror, man. That's crazy. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Do we want to fly around Cash a bit, or we don't really need to? I guess people know what the.
I mean, it's the same. It's the same as it's always been. So it's only for new people that aren't really familiar with it. That's why I felt like it was pretty popular, like from the first day and even over the first week, right? That it stayed pretty popular. It's always felt like a very puggy map for me. Like I would be happy to play it in like fairly random pugs, you know, and things like that, because like realistically, you don't need that much stuff to run around and do something on both sides. Really, you can do some solo moves and things like that. So like it always feels like it's a good matchmaking map for just the casual audience. Otherwise, yeah, I'm same as everybody. I'm just curious how it's going to play with CS2 mechanics. I wonder if that was Valve's thinking in the first place, because obviously they will have heat maps of how things have been like used in CS:GO and things like that, and like what areas might be looking differently in that perspective, right? So it kind of makes sense that they've made it the exact same, at least layout wise. It's obviously still going to play different just because of the smoke breaks, you know, and some things like that we're probably going to be. Maybe it's going to be even heavier towards mid because of that. Maybe not. Maybe it's going to be the other way, you know, where it's going to be easier to get into the sites. I'm not sure entirely, but it's interesting that that's what they've gone for, because I'm not 100% sure I understand why, really.
Yeah, like the sentiment that you have right there is probably we know that this period of time right now, where people are playing it a shitload in comps, is where that data you're talking about is going to get picked up and they can make any changes. Remember with Train, and like we ended up getting that box added towards Con, and then we also had a lot of boxes. Yeah, they added the new box outside where you could jump on top of the red train or the 5-lane, 6-lane train, the Ivy train. So they might make some subtle changes like that, right? That tends to be one of the biggest things that happens, just like subtle changes. Like, what if they made it so that you could get into vent on your own and you didn't need to get boosted from B? You know, what type of impact would because a lot of the things that they do, it's kind of adding ways to make a move. If you think about two of the most subtle things that they change that make a big impact on really staple maps, think about Mirage, they added the bench in middle. Right, so then that made it a way that you could, sure, noisily, but you could self-boost into Windows, so some way to access that. Then you think about Dust 2, the elevator box. Now they made it that you don't need to boost on anybody's head anymore. Now you can just jump up there on your own. And those seem like pretty small, subtle changes, but they change timings, then that changes, or they change expectation as well, and then that changes something kind of bigger with how it's played. Anyway, we don't have to dwell too long on this. I might get some cash stuff in a couple of months, so we'll be able to talk more and dive into it more then. Okay, this one is more of a question, I suppose, than me coming and ready to say anything. ESIC's been posting a bunch of shit lately, which is sometimes good to see. I don't know if it is good to see. It's like the regulatory body that still exists, even though none of us, and TOs abide by it, even though none of us really have any faith in what's going on over there. So this is where I kind of default and I go Striker. Is there anything interesting that we should be knowing about these recent bans or suspensions or whatever?
I mean, a lot of it is kind of no-name people. Some of it concerns like Gokushima.
Some of the Senza guys, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's the Senza guys that obviously at some point were kind of infamous for some of the shenanigans that were happening. Then there's Jemka, who got an interim suspension that people might remember from the Quantum Belt of Fire team. Quantum Belt of Fire. I think.
Yeah, also Windstrike
after that. Yeah.
The name rings bells.
With Boomich, they played at that major that they made the top 8 in Boston. So that's he got a interim suspension because the screenshot that leaked where he came up to like a Danish player apparently and tried to get him to fix games or something like that. Allegedly, you know, like you never know with screenshots like that, but it was enough for them to at least take some precautionary action. Yeah, a lot of stuff around that that's been happening over the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, so nothing crazy.
I mean,
it's great. It's good that there's activity around this because obviously a lot of this stuff just never gets caught, never gets reported. You know, and recently we've seen more of that. I think where this Danish player leaked the screenshot from Jimka, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name off the top of my head right now. And I've seen that a couple of times before, where somebody like kind of better known came up to somebody and tried to instigate something, you know, and that got kind of leaked immediately, because effectively that's what we need, right? Like if you know, people are a little bit braver in terms of getting approached and not just be like, yeah, I'm not interested, but like, good luck moving forward, I guess. And it's like, you know, maybe just say something, whether it's publicly or just send it to ESIC, like we just do that. So we see more of that, which is good.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the Sensa thing is interesting because there's six people that got suspensions or bans or whatever you want to call them. Actually, not these are bans. They were suspended previously. Yep. So this Biek guy who got a 2-year ban due to account sharing and
I
identity.
remember this was the whole thing last year, wasn't it?
Yeah,
yep.
When there was like one guy was on the camera, but he wasn't, and it's a different account.
I don't think this is the same guy. I think this is a different case, or maybe there were 2 different ones, because there was also the Kazakhstani team that also had like a couple of those situations.
Fantastic. Anyway, so he got a 2-year ban, and then the rest of the team were they said ESIC issued formal requests for information, but the majority of the participants failed to respond to these requests or provide required materials other than limited information regarding the participant Biek, and they failed to cooperate, and based on that they were banned for 1 year, which I think is a interesting. I haven't seen this done before from ESIC in terms of like, okay, we have something here that is sus, but you guys do not want to cooperate, and based on that, we're banning you. Mm-hmm. It's because previously, even if we go back to you know, the coach bug or whatever, it didn't seem like they were even asking people to say anything, you know, to like be like, okay, this is what happened, this is what didn't happen, or anything. It was just like, oh, do you have anything? We don't have anything on this case, so we'll just leave it. And this case was like, okay, please, you know, provide details. You haven't provided any details. Well, that's like in some way admission of some guilt or whatever. I'm not saying these are the same cases, but it's just something interesting that I noted here in this case that I haven't seen before from ESIC.
But so with this type of stuff, because I just quickly flicked over to ESIC's website, because I'm with what you're saying there, Prof. It's a different tactic. I'm just trying to work out or give myself a refresher on what this actually means for those type of players, right? So if people want, they can go to esic.gg/members, and you can see the members there. Now, it's a little bit outdated because, for example, they still have Blast listed as Blast Pro Series. They still have ESL and DreamHack listed, even though now it would all fall under the EFG banner, for example. Nodwin Gaming, that's Starladder. GT Sports Leagues, I could find out more, but I don't know if that's Counter-Strike related. Galaxy Esports, Gamercraft, DACHCS GmbH, I guess that's Germany.
Dach, yeah, that's the like German speaking region.
Okay, so there's no PGL here. Blast is Blast Pro Series. All EFG events would be covered under that. I don't know if that includes EWC. But like, if these players who are banned by ESIC or barred from ESIC, they could still go play in anything PGL related, though, right?
Theoretically, but I do think PGL does take over some of these bans, but they're just not like a member, you know.
Okay, well that's what. Wait, data partners. Okay, that's different too. That's what they need provided to help them find.
I'm not sure about
fixes.
ESIC. Maybe they took over some specific ones, but I don't think they typically talk anything about these like day to day, you know, things from ESIC that happen. But yeah, sometimes they do. But usually,
Messer,
I mean, they have to say it.
Messer is in here, Prof. How's that happened? How are they part of ESIC? Surely they should be under investigation for ESIC. What the fuck is going on there?
You should be careful about that. You know, the Mongolians have been in my DMs and be like, why are you always against Mongolians?
So I'll just, there's this announcement for a tournament that Epic Bet doesn't matter. So on Twitter, they put out all the, you know, the information that you need to put out for VRS. Yeah, at the end it says, Arena reserves the right to disqualify. This is just a tournament organizer that's not on that list. But it says, reserves the right to disqualify teams from a direct VRS invite should a player on the team be banned by ESL FaZe Group, ESIC, or any other tournament organizers via Valve Anti-Cheat or any anti-cheating platform. So I just presume like most TOs have something like this, where they
like a catch-all if they
like if they get like someone, you know, reporting, or they figure out, oh, this guy might be banned, then they just do that, even if they're not like a part of ESIC officially, which means probably paying something to ESIC.
Okay. All right, cool. That's the ESIC portion. Let's jump into the next one. So ESL announced, was it yesterday? Was the day before? It was yesterday.
Yesterday.
18 hours ago. Feels like the day before when we go back 18 hours. What are you saying, Lucas? Prof? Oh, okay. I thought there was some input there from Lucas that I couldn't miss. Okay. So this one is regarding ESL Pro League's 25th season, which for those people playing at home is the first season of 2027, is going to be taking place in Saudi Arabia, which came as a shock to me, I guess, like everybody else. I only heard news about this like a couple of days before it was announced. Normally, I'm sniffing shit out all the time. This one I didn't. This one maybe someone told me in passing or mentioned it in passing. There's a possibility, but my recollection's not there. But this one's hit the headlines. And this one, obviously, as we know, when things are coming into conversation, Saudi Arabia related, it is a hot one. I think that obviously there's the broader stuff that people have had issues with since they've been involved, since they bought EFG. I think some of the more recent stuff that's been going on in the region, right? I believe when I'm watching news programs or it's you know, like a movie, they'd use terms like unrest in the Middle East. You know, they'd use that type of terminology.
The classic line.
Yeah, classic line. With all that going on at the moment, does raise a couple of questions. So I think let's kind of unpack this. So EPL, since the pandemic, since we came back to doing it on LAN, has just been on Europe. Before the pandemic, we used to do like an online model that would end in LAN playoffs in different places. The idea that this now, which the new model they're using is essentially like 10 days worth of competition. It's just
a tournament.
Just really. A PGL event, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Like it's 16 teams, 8-team Swiss, 8-team playoff. They've upped the prize pool from 1 million to 1.25, with all of that in the club share portion. Obviously, this is trying to incentivize the orgs to send their teams. And that's about it. So the questions that this starts to bring into the forefront, the first ones for me, when I look at all of these things, is, are good teams going to go? And one of the big issues, it feels like EPL is kind of, I don't want to say it's been sandbagged. I think it's been the experiment for ESL in a lot of stuff, like the Malta thing, the Malta deal, and how like bad that was, or when it was part of, what was the group called that were together of all the teams? What were they called? The Louvre Agreement.
Louvre Agreement, yeah.
Or whatever.
Those guys, right? They were also, you know, having a lot of say in kind of what the EPL product was, for example, right? So this kind of a move, now that there's no direct leverage, but there's like indirect leverage because of EWC, right? So you wonder, here's my question, because here's my concern. I'll throw this one to Striker. Yep. I question, will good teams even want to go to Saudi Arabia? It's an 8 to 10 hour travel day. The event, it's okay. So ESL came out earlier this year and said all of their events are going to be, I don't know if I want to say arena events. All their events are going to have a live audience, right? For the playoffs. I think that's probably a better way of saying it.
And then they announced an event in Saudi Arabia. Exactly.
So to me, it doesn't really make sense. And I even saw, so Oliver Bricks, I don't know what his official title is now, but he works for EFG. He is now the senior director marketing at ESL. It used to just be social media stuff, but I think with some of the restructuring, he got moved around. But there was, so Twitter now, the fact that everything is just automatically translated means I can read everything that's going on. Whether it's translating correctly or not, I don't fucking know. But I'm reading.
Oftentimes
you have to be careful about that.
Who knows?
Sometimes like entirely deluded fucking paragraphs just invented, you know, things like that's happening. So be careful.
Either way, he was replying to someone who it was tweeting in Arabic, I'd assume, that's been translated. So the guy was tweeting and saying that the city hasn't been specified. Like, this is about, you know, the EPL season 25 being in Saudi. City hasn't been specified. And then according to my expectations, it'll be a closed studio, not on a stage with an audience, because that's Pro League system with a very weak probability it might be a stage. So obviously this is someone who's watched Pro League from that region over the years, and they've seen, you know, the Malta small finals and all this type of stuff.
Yeah, Stockholm or whatever.
Yeah, and then Oliver Bricks has replied saying, we announced earlier this year that all playoffs for our CS events will be on stage in front of an audience. And then I've actually gone through and seen the continued comments, and people can go and find this themselves if they want, back and forth with this person who's made the original tweet, and people are talking about it's a bad time. So I looked into that because I'm very ignorant. Apparently this is during Ramadan when this is going to be happening, 6th to the 14th of March. So people were saying that's a bad time. And then there was some other stuff as well where even people who I'm assuming are from that region are talking about how like it might not be a very, very big crowd in terms of the turnout. So
I mean, as if it would be otherwise, you know, it's like we've never really seen a big turnout in Saudi Arabia.
I wasn't blaming Ramadan.
Or
I just meant the fact, we're
or
in Saudi
realistically
Arabia.
anywhere in the region, just like CS or even other esports sometimes aren't that popular that people just go and watch in masses, you know. So I think it's pretty safe to say that we will only see kind of like a smaller crowd, right? In the hundreds, I would imagine.
Teams go. We know Falcons are going to go, but like who else is going to go? Striker, if you had like you probably talk to the people who make those choices for teams more than I do. So what's your sentiment?
Well, I don't know. It sometimes depends on whether, you know, something to do with EWC has, you know, some stipulation there that they will make the biggest efforts to promote other tournaments in the region or whatever it is, you know, like there's every possibility that the deal has something like that in there. I will admit I will have not read up in the entire thing in terms of what the new, you know, deal with the teams around EWC is, but I would imagine something like that is in there. And so in that case, you know, they're probably going to be incentivized to do so in some way. But I mean, we've seen in the past that other ESL tournaments, you know, teams were fairly happy to skip even when they were in a decent location. Yeah. EPL being one of them, right? That was partly because it was online as well, but just also schedule-wise, it just didn't really work out for some of the teams, you know, and that was the tournament that they were kind of happy to skip because it was a studio event. Same way, you know, the big teams are usually skipping the PGL studios, but then go to the arenas, right? The Cluj, the Astana are the ones that usually do well, right? So I would assume that you're right, and it's probably going to be on the lower side attendance-wise.
Could be like a Rio that's happening now, for example, right?
Yeah, maybe potentially something like that, or like an Atlanta, you know, type thing, where like some of the top teams will go, but not all of them, just because there's going to be other stuff happening around that same time that will be, you know, better location or you know, better tournament, better
It's still
arena.
a month from that point if we're sticking to the 2-month period of time between VRS cutoff and major, right? Let's say that the first major of next year, the Argentinian one, the cutoff, they do it in April. You've still got a month worth of events from this Saudi event until then. So it's not like the teams are going to miss out
it's like 2 weeks, no?
But after that is...
Oh, yeah, that's right, 16th.
2 weeks, just...
So yeah, EPL season 25 ends March 14th, and then EPL Blast Open Singapore. This is completely under my radar that this is announced to be in Singapore. Is 15th to 28th, so straight after EPL would be Blast Open Singapore, which I don't know how it's going to work because usually they do the group stages in Copenhagen.
Oh, that's a good point.
So
that's not going to happen, I think, in this case.
That would be like a huge trip between. And then after that, there is after actually overlapping with that is PGL event number 3, 2027. Doesn't really say much more than that. We don't have a location on that, but I would presume Europe. I'm not sure.
It's so
hard
interesting.
To tell. I mean, it could be anything, right? Because April is probably going to be the Astana one, and this one is probably I don't know, something new.
So from Europe, just for people playing at home, I can't imagine too many of you have been to Saudi Arabia, considering I think it wasn't open to tourists before 2018 or something. But to go from Malta to Saudi Arabia, it's probably for me like a 12 to 14-hour travel day, but that's because I'm in Malta and it's kind of fucky, right, to get places. But I think if you're going from like Germany, it's probably an 8 to 10-hour travel day still, right, from leaving home to getting there. So like, let's say 8 on the low side. To get from Saudi Arabia to Changi Airport in Singapore, it takes about 13 hours.
It's not going to be. They're not going to go to Singapore. They're going to go to PGL. Like most teams are going to go to PGL. We know that.
If you're doing the EPL, then you're probably not going to Singapore. If you're doing Singapore, you're definitely not doing Saudi. But you could, or you can't do Singapore into PGL.
Yeah, you can only choose one. So I would say, I mean, in terms of the time on the calendar, EPL is fine to attend.
Yeah, I guess.
Really.
I guess I think it's
It
just
depends on whether the cutoff is going to be the same as the Singapore one, which is the month before, or if it's going to be the same as it's been up to now, which is 2 months before, right? Because if it's a month before, then it's kind of in a meh spot because there's plenty of tournaments around it, right? But if it's right before the cutoff, that depends, you know, like it could be a pretty well attended tournament just because of it being so close to the cutoff, and everybody will have one to go as far into the major as possible.
So there's a couple of other points here, right, that need addressing, I suppose, with this, because there is let's say an uproar. I get what's it been like 4 years since SAVI bought ESL and Face It. So I think when you look at this, the fact it's EPL and not an IEM, like if you're going to sacrifice something, then I guess it is going to be EPL, because there's probably pressure coming top down, I would assume, to have an event in Saudi. I think infrastructure.
I mean, it's got to be coming from there.
Infrastructure wise as well, I think, you know, if you're looking for a win as EFG to like save money, it's like, well, if they're going to let us use the infrastructure over there in Saudi, we're going to have, you know, things that are already built and potentially cheaper costs. But then if we just kind of, we're thinking essentially 12 months away from now, 11 months away from now, right? That's what we're talking about. But we have EWC, which is meant to be taking shape straight after the tournament break, which is late July, early August, right? And I'm not looking at the three of you to go, are you keeping your finger on the pulse of the geopolitical unrest in the Middle East, right? And looking for diagnosis.
Yeah, and I mean, also adding to that, you're talking about the Counter-Strike tournament at EWC, but the start of EWC
is
July 2nd with Valorant, for example. So 2 months exactly from now, it's supposed to, you know, people will be on the ground playing tournaments.
I think there was something with Ralph Reichart recently, who's the head of the foundation or whatever his official title is over there. It was in the bottom of the article that you guys wrote about the EWC move. So from Time Magazine, bloody hell, they're still doing Time Magazine.
Where else would you find this information?
Remains hopeful that EWC will still move forward in Riyadh this year despite the ongoing conflict. Like again,
unfortunately, somewhat far-fetched.
That it'll happen. You think it's far-fetched? I'm not an expert on war or things getting blown up, but if things are getting blown up and things are getting blown up where you're going to be, I don't think people are going to be very it takes an awful lot, wouldn't it, to get people to go, I think.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's, you know, there's obviously been some, like, it's been going on and off, but like if you know that the situation is this sensitive, let's say, you know, where it can just change at a moment's notice effectively, like I don't think people would risk go there. And I think people around DWC know that. And I know that they've been making backup plans for a while now, like to think about where are they going to move it if it's not going to be possible to play it in Saudi Arabia. And I mean, I've heard some locations. I don't know which one is true, or I'm not going to throw it out there, but I've heard like European, you know, Asian locations before where they were considering moving it elsewhere. I think it's going to be a struggle to move it anywhere that has the necessary infrastructure for it, or the grounds and things like that. It would have to be like some huge fairgrounds, you know.
There's only one country that comes to mind.
That's yes.
Well, the only country that comes to mind, like if they wanted to run the entire event, the entire 2-month-long event, with everything that's going on, the only country that could possibly handle such infrastructure and have small visa issues comparatively to other places would probably be China.
Yep, that's one of those I heard. I also heard, like the classic ESL locations, you know, for like Katowice, Stockholm, things like that. But I don't know how much of this is
all those events there.
I don't know if it would be all of them or if it would just be part of them, and like maybe they would run them between those two cities, you know, and just like go back and forth or something like that. There's obviously infrastructure in Katowice for ESL already. There's infrastructure in Stockholm for ESL already. So there's a lot you can use that you have in place. And then you just need to rent out a couple of venues for if you want to have people there, right? So it's not a horrible solution. It's just one of the solutions that I heard was possible. Same thing for the Esports Nations Cup, which is that what it's called? Which
ENC,
is
Esports
happening
Nations
in
Cup,
November, I think. So that's another one of those that might get moved, into one of those locations. And like I just have a hard time seeing teams saying yes to traveling to this tournament, regardless of all the deals that are in place, because of what's happening there, right? Like this close to the tournament.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, from what I heard, teams don't know anything so far
in terms of where it's going to be.
Yeah. And like
I imagine they don't know anything yet. The foundation
because
what's going to happen.
This statement from Ralph going into Times Magazine is kind of what they're putting out from EWC, and teams are like, don't really vibe with this, but from what I'm hearing, they're putting up a front right now, like everything will be fine, and it's just like, well, now it's 2 months to go, and I'm as much as we want to say teams don't want to send their players, there's a lot of money on the line for all of these orgs, as in like they are all, I would say, just like if you kill EWC overnight, how many of these orgs would survive? I don't want to put out the number, it will be quoted, but I think a lot of them would just die.
This is where stuff that, it used to be like 4 or 5 years ago, we'd do a podcast and we'd say things and it would just be a thing, and people would be like, oh, that's just a guy with an opinion. But you say like a number or figure now, Prof, and people would be like, Prof has done the financials on every top esports organization and in the ecosystem.
I'm not saying they would have, but like everyone has invested with the idea of competing at the EWC, so that now their budgets are for the payoff that comes from it, also the deals of like the minimum guarantees and that they probably have, I don't know, and also the prize pool and the individual prize pools for tournaments. There's like, Vitality has like fucking 15-20 rosters now.
Yeah, like that's true. Some of the games there are the biggest, that the EWC tournament is the biggest tournament in their whole I think
year, most of the games, to be honest, that are played there. It's just CS that's kind of like just another tournament, for that's more of a exception than the rest of it.
Yeah, I think like from a Counter-Strike perspective, we probably don't get hit the hardest if EWC isn't able to function or whatever. It will have impact, right? And obviously direct impact would more, let's say that, because I've seen people having conversations about Saudis pulling funding on stuff, but again, I only care about Counter-Strike, so I'm not sitting there reading about live golf and shit. I'm just seeing this in my periphery. I'm not researching this stuff.
But it is what Prof was talking about, right? Like these orgs, like obviously some of it has impact on specific divisions, right? Because some of these orgs literally put up like new teams just for the sake of EWC, because the more teams you have there, the more you can get out of it, the more you can get your hands on the funding, right? So that's because it's effectively a competition, like not just because of like the placing in those tournaments, but also in how much you're promoting the tournament and all that stuff. Like that has some like added bonuses, so all this stuff will obviously touch upon the teams that they have, the divisions that they have extra, but also the overall payouts that they get out of these out of the EWC, right? So it would obviously be important for them to participate, but I just feel like if the situation was difficult enough as it looks now, the teams, there would probably be some sort of a movement from the teams that would just make a push for it, right? Especially as we get a little bit closer, because we're already 2 months away. And I think like right now, it's kind of where you have to make the decision, because you're not going to just like turn around and prepare everything in a completely different location a month before the tournament goes. It's for CS, I think it's
June 1st.
June.
Okay, so when the major starts. So like at that point, they have to make the choice, the team. So we'll know in a month's time.
The logistics of this tournament are kind of insane. Just the amount of people, the amount of staff you need to like have hotels for.
Yeah.
Just that is just such an insane, like huge undertaking.
Well, this was going to be the one with the 128 team open LAN.
Yeah.
Yes, that as well for CS, which is.
I mean, also, and we haven't even touched on the obvious, the not obvious topic, but not so obvious topic, which is would Valve even allow this to move?
The location of the event.
Yeah, because the location's been set, and obviously you can't change.
Well, you'd assume so because of the circumstances.
You would hope so, because if there was a reason, for something to get moved, it would be war happening in the country. It's like that's obviously one of those. There's other solutions that I'm not going to give you any ideas, but there's other solutions you can go with that I'm sure they're aware of. But
it's the word that starts with O.
You mean open or what?
No, I was meaning online.
Okay, no, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about, the loophole where you can effectively host a top tier tournament with a 2-month, lead up without any sort of announcement beforehand, because tier 1 tournament. Yeah. Because you can just make it like an open sign up thing, and you just pick the biggest teams as like Relog did for the HLC Belgrade, and then you can host the tournament as big as that with a 2-month deadline. So there are ways to go around it if Valve were, let's say, not agreeable to the situation.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, just to mention sports washing. There we go. I hope some people are happy in comments. That's it.
Wait, you're playing ahead for the YouTube comments that are going to come.
I was gonna be like, oh, they didn't mention.
Yeah, but
they killed journalists. It's like, okay, as if we don't know by the like, do I need to explain this every time? But hey, there we go. Just want to mention Google Saudi Arabia sports washing if you care about that.
People start to get into
if you're not informed.
To make people happy, we should just start calling it electronic sports washing league.
Oh my god! People
That's
start,
a good one.
People start to get into a bit of a back and forth when these topics come around regarding Saudi Arabia. And I think like the thing I was saying about the teams choosing to go or not go, right, is going to be based on a bunch of factors. And we had this before with EWCs, and people like all teams were letting their players decide if they wanted to go or not. And it's the same thing if like you as a viewer, right? If you want to watch and you're interested in the Counter-Strike that's going on, then tune in. If you don't want to watch, the best thing you can do as a viewer who is dissatisfied with something is not engage. That's literally the best thing you can do. So make the choice that you as a person want to make on your own. That's the best advice I give to people. Okay, let's jump forward. One more piece of recent news, and then we'll get into the Counter-Strike that happened and is going to be happening. All right, Big Equipper have put the not big have put the Equipper division or project on hold for the foreseeable future. The reason this is important is they were Team of the Year last year. And as we know, EFG wound up the Impact circuit last year, so there's no Impact anymore. And other women's Counter-Strike initiatives have pulled out their support, and Big are the next in that. And I guess it's a good opportunity to touch base in terms of women's Counter-Strike, because the first thing that came to my mind was, oh shit, what are we going to do with the awards show?
Yeah.
Is there going to be women's awards?
This is what I've been thinking about since last year when Impact announced that they're, not continuing for this year. It's just like, well, this is going to be really rough, because if there is no competition, not a stable, competition throughout the year, it's really hard to decide like who is. Even last year was difficult because it was very split between like different tournaments. There wasn't really, a clear winner, and there's not a lot of tournaments. But this year it just looks very dire.
Yeah, there's been like 2 tournaments, and both of them kind of small.
Yeah, online stuff. And there is the BC game tournament coming right now. It says that's going to happen in like June, July, something like that. That's the only thing that has like a bigger prize pool, but that's also just online, right? Nothing LAN wise is mentioned yet. There's a bunch of talks and rumors from behind the scenes that I know of, but it's just really, it's in general, getting sponsors for anything in CS is hard. And then for these kind of stuff that doesn't have a huge reach, doesn't have a lot of, interest from, obviously betting is like a huge thing in CS. It doesn't generate a lot from that point of view. So people are not crazy about, putting money into it. So it's all over. It's just really, really rough. No one has the funds to put something together right now, or hasn't. And it's also the time and effort
that they don't have. It's just about there's no return on it, right? And that's the difficult part.
So it's been a rough year. Obviously, shout out to Big for even keeping them around for as much as they could. But right now it's dire. So,
obviously there's we have the regular tournaments, and then we have had the women's tournaments. They're still able to compete, but obviously there's a lot more teams that you have to get past before you get to a point of being noticed, right?
Yeah. I mean, Big has played male competition this year, and some other women's teams have as well. Obviously didn't get any results from that, unfortunately, but they have been competing. It's not like they haven't, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. I know that was kind of where I was going to focus, is maybe because the best thing that can happen now is, in a open qualifier or something, they get a good result, and that's where the headlines can come from. Otherwise, if there's no tournament, we're not even measuring them against other women's teams. So now it's like it's gonna be tough. But yeah, okay. So no more support from Big for Equipper. We'll see what happens there. Okay. Well, that's a nice fucking somber note to leave things on, isn't it? All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is probably the perfect time to go to a break, and then we can use the 30 seconds that we've gone for to find some energy, everybody. All right, let's do that. We got Counter-Strike to talk about. Lucas, run the ads. Newsflash, read all about it. Some of the biggest news breaking over the weekend. Nobody saw it coming. The newspapers have been swamped. All the journalists at HLTV, they've been on the bloody typewriters. They have not stopped. It's one of the hottest pieces of news that you'll hear this fucking century, guys. Vitality won another event. No one thought it was going to happen. No, it came as a surprise to all of us. Prof, when he was watching and he saw the trophy lift, he went, "Oh my god!"
I was shaking.
I've never seen them do this before. Striker was in tears. He was like, "This is breaking new ground for Counter-Strike." And here we are. Lucas has been speechless. He hasn't even said a word this podcast. It's crazy news, guys. It's like how they keep doing it. How do they keep getting away with it? Is this going to be like a Scooby-Doo skit? We eventually we trap him, we pull off the mask, and I don't know who the fuck will be underneath. But what's going on? They won again.
Yeah, I mean, this was always going to be a tournament where it was going to be, let's say, easier for them to win than the normal tournament as well. And like, so even them heading into it without practice, people are making a huge deal about that when, you know, this is still the best fucking team in the world that's won 4 tournaments in a row. Like, they're going to be fine without practice. It's more about, are they going to be 100% up to it individually because they haven't, let's say, played for like a week or two properly, you know, and things like that, rather than they're going to be unable to play as a team. It's still, you could still see that they were rocky at the beginning, and I thought maybe there's a world where this was going to be the tournament that they give up. And frankly, it could have still been, even when you were watching the final, like realistically, it could have been another tournament that they could have given up. You know, it was the same with the Spirit final, you know, where the first 2 maps, you see every world where Navi could have won, should have fucking won Nuke, obviously. And then they still don't. And that's just Vitality for you these days, where they will just recover everything possible. They will win all the clutches. They will not lose a map in playoffs for fucking 27 maps in a row. Like, it's getting a bit ridiculous, even for me as somebody who's kind of enjoying the greatness of it, because like you just feel like there are teams who can challenge them if they're on their A game, but somehow they still lose anyway, even when they're playing pretty well. And that's just what happened to Navi, for example, like in these first couple of maps. Like it looked like they were okay, and then they still lost, even though Vitality was like a B to C game, probably.
Just, I guess there's a lot of things to get into here. I've obviously been
SPUNJ is pulling out a Google Sheet, guys. I've been trying to, what I'm doing at the moment at home, obviously watching the Counter-Strike, playing the Counter-Strike, but I'm thinking about the major. I'm coming up with some like concepts of things that they can do for desk segments and where it would be nice. And while I'm doing that, you know, the brain's running, you're making slides, you're in Google Sheets, you're writing documents, you're doing it all. AI.
Right? So one of the things that I was taking a look at, we can bring this up, Lucas. I just was looking at all the finals for Vitality. I'm sharing the screen, Lucas, so you can just fucking whack that bad boy up. But all the finals that Vitality have been in this year, just to take a look at like the maps they played and the results they've had. So 15 straight maps now in finals. What?
It's loading.
I can't fucking hear him while I'm talking. I'm too loud. I can't hear myself. Maybe I can zoom in a bit. Will that help? Let's see. Hold up. Is that better?
We can zoom in more.
Did I make it worse? Did it do anything? I don't know if it did anything. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point of this is, so taking a look at their group stages in the last 2 events, right? So Rio and Fort Worth were shakier than their playoff runs. They haven't dropped maps in their playoff runs, right? They just keep owning. But this is as far as grand finals go, since they lost the map to FURIA at the start of the year in Krakow, they've won 15 straight maps in finals. Right? Like, am I mathing right? Is that correct?
27 in playoffs.
The 27 consecutive in playoffs, but 15. Like I guess the playoff stat is much more impressive. But the data I have in front of me is only for the grand finals, right? Mm-hmm. So this year they played 5 best-of-5 finals. It's 5. Yeah, it is 5. they've only lost one map. It was the first one they played. It was Mirage. Then, so I got the maps they played. They played 4 Dust 2s, 3 Infernos, 3 Nukes, 2 Overpasses, 2 Mirages, 2 Anubises. The thing that I think is interesting, though, 7 of the maps they've played have been double-digit victories. So they've been pretty close, like a 13-10 here or a 13-10 over here.
A couple overtimes.
Yeah, and then you've got 3 overtimes. So the fact that, you know, that these finals are not... 3 overtimes. So that they, like, Prof, you kind of brought this up last week. You were like, yeah, they're getting closer, or they're showing cracks, or... But it's... some of these maps are extremely competitive, right? What Striker was just talking about, the fact that they brought back an 11-1, that's ridiculous in itself, or an 11-0, right? I guess that's probably even in a harsher way to frame it. Anubis was extremely competitive, but then they get to Dust 2 and they're like, all right, we've taken over now. NAVI are mentally depleted. It's GG. Like, it's hard to know what to take away from this, because I mentioned this in the group earlier in the week. Apex is in one interview, or Flames is in one interview. I forget which one, but they're very good at putting it out. They're being like, yeah, we're not really practicing, and the main focus was on the Grand Slam, and this is whatever. And then Alexi's coming out, and he's going, well, you know, we don't really consider it like a legit win if Vitality's not there. So you have Vitality at the event. Let's say this is before we know the result, who don't really give a fuck, but they're going to try, and they're still the best team in the world. You've got NAVI, who are considered the world number 2 on the other side, and they only think the win's going to matter if they beat Vitality. But in this situation, if they beat Vitality and Vitality didn't care, then did it really even matter? And so it's like, and then
I think any win over Vitality, anybody will take at this point. I don't think it matters whether they care or don't care. You just want to see them fall if you're another team. It doesn't matter who. Just you want somebody to beat them, like when it matters. Obviously, you know, we've seen Falcons beat them a couple times, like at points where, you know, they could afford it, let's say, but they just don't lose in these important games.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different. The idea you put forward, like, you know, Vitality didn't practice, which somehow people didn't really catch on to until like it was all over. It's like, bro, literally use your brain. You don't even need to hear this. You know they're not going to practice for this event based on everything. Secondly, they are literally saying it all the time. Like every interview, they were saying it. But by the time you reach the grand final, I feel like it doesn't really matter if you practice before the event or not. Like it doesn't really, for a Vitality, I don't think it, then they're already, maybe they're not at their S game, but they're at their B game at worst. So if you beat them in the final, I feel like it's valuable regardless of them not practicing, because like some of the stuff that happened in that Dust 2 game that they ended up losing. I think this happened to FaZe as well. Was just Zai was missing a smoke because of the update, like the Dust 2 smoke. Yeah. Like stuff like this is just a result of them not practicing, not coming in or doing anything, and. You know, you would expect him to know that. Maybe the assistant coach would have known that, but I think they probably all took time off to reset, because being Matt and preparing for all of these games is also fucking demanding. Probably some of the most demanding work out of the whole team, having to go to the final of every fucking event every time and prepare for all of this stuff. So you go to that game and then you're just like, you're throwing the smoke, you're failing it. You end up losing Dust 2 streak to a coach for no reason, really, only to like go back in the final and just destroy NAVI on it. You know, it's so. In conclusion, last week I was like, you know, they're showing some cracks, this and that. If Donk played better, they could have won. But then they go 11-0 down, thanks to NAVI winning a bunch of clutches. Really, so that kind of set them up for success. You're 11-0 down, you win last round, you win pistol, and you make the comeback. That's honestly even worse than just Vitality going in 13-2ing you. That's definitely worse, because it's so hard to make that comeback. It's so like there's no room for a mistake. And I saw someone in chat saying like, oh, NAVI didn't play well or whatever. It's like, bro, that CT side Vitality are just so good. Like I don't feel like NAVI were like throwing grounds or anything.
There was a couple of rounds where I was like, all right, like the one where they went into Rops at ramp and he gets like 3 kills like instantly, and I'm like, and the spacing wasn't even great, and I'm some of that. But it's easy to be critical like that of those rounds when you know that they're so close, but they're so close because they had a really good first half. It doesn't mean like we know Vitality can have a really good half back the other way. And some of the rounds that they're winning, right? And Rob's coming up very clutch, saving his best work for the grand final, right? This is the this is the type of guy who's only getting out of bed for the grand finals, really. I thought Anubis was the best map of the series.
Mm-hmm.
It was very back and forth and exciting. Yeah.
The second half, and it looked like the second half, it had these 2 points. One, after like the 4 spies back and forth in the early stages, like there was Rops comes in with the 5-7, I think it was, and he wins with the fight on platform. And then there's a bit of, then Vitality come out, or it feels like Vitality have come out on top of the finances, but Navi are keeping it close, and then they break them, and then they go on that spree of like, I think it was 3 or 4 rounds to get them up to 11.
It really felt like Navi were also in that moment that they were winning. Like I was watching the game, and it just feels like Navi are fully in control. And then I zoned out for a minute, and it's like, nah, it's GG. Like it just swung. I don't even know. I don't know what happened really in the map.
They had they started having some clumsy rounds, like and you wonder, is it the pressure of finally being able to take a map off of Vitality, right? And it's a grand final, and there's extras there, but it's like they're doing this round where they're playing like 3 through middle, and they go to break and flash the camera smoke at the same time. Yeah, and like Flamesy gets the first, dodges the flash, then they've ended up team flashing, so Alexi or Immer or whoever the fuck it is like stuck in there, and then they just like there's some rounds where it's like Navi become, I don't want to say they're their own worst enemy, but the rounds just looked bad, and maybe that's Vitality forcing them to make those rounds look bad. Maybe it's lucky timing. At the end of the day, that is Counter-Strike 2, right? You have to have those things fall in your favor to win. Okay, someone said Makazi flashed to Alex. Either way, you could see they wanted to break and flash, or the comms probably become really bottlenecked. The plan's not clear. You lose a sloppy round like that. You lose sloppy rounds like that versus Vitality, you're fucked.
You're
like,
cooked.
It's not even you lose those rounds. It's like even like you just give them that opportunity to lose that round, and they will take it because they just have the individuals, they just have the team play, they have everything to take advantage. Like you were talking about the Robs thing, like how many people would be able to get all 3 there? Not many. Really,
that's true.
Like that's one thing, right? Like somebody refrags, even if the spacing is slightly off, like that's just how well you have to play against Vitality if you want to beat them sometimes. Like you really have to be perfect, or at least close to perfect in so many situations. And just like if you're not, this is what's going to happen to you, right? So I also don't think it was necessarily something like too bad on Navi's side that they ended up losing the first 2 maps. It feels crazy to say considering the 11-0, but that's how it was. Even the 11-0 was a lot closer of a half than it looked, because Navi won something like 4 clutches to get that, like a 1v1, 1v2. Wonderful had a couple and all that stuff. So like even those rounds weren't so, like it could have easily been like an 8-4, 7-5 even typically, like if some of those clutches go the other way, right? So yeah, it's just so hard to see that they, like the teams that get close, they're missing so little sometimes to get something off of Vitality, right? And like that little bit would shake Vitality a little bit. Like let's say, Vitality do lose the Nuke like 13-1. Like they lose the pistol and they just lose the next round.
Anubis,
Could have easily been. Then go into Anubis, which kind of was a punish pick, right? And it ended up being close. Was definitely a good chance for Navi. And then you have them on the back foot. And the Mirage is coming, which is another map that has been a little bit shaky for Vitality. So like there was the definite world where that could have been a Navi final, but the 11-0 comeback happens and you feel like it's over at that point already, even with Anubis being kind of close.
Similar to the Rio one, right? But the Rio one, we know that Vitality were gunning to win that to get the Grand Slam done, right? It's like there were some moments with the Spirit final there where you're like, yeah, Spirit are in that same spot. I think that, again, it just continues to build to the mythology that is Vitality, right? We're always saying positive things about these guys. For me, again, I'll rehash it. It's the way that they are setting the narrative publicly and also setting the focus within the team and understanding all that. That's great. But you can't say that. You can say that the outcome was boring because it's the expected outcome, but the way we got there, other than map 3, wasn't boring. Like I really enjoyed seeing the comeback. It's like, oh shit. So even when they look like they should be getting owned, they can still do this. Anubis was great. It was lots of fun. That was a fun game. And then Dust 2, it's like, okay, well, you let them. Now they're mentally all over you. It's over.
Yeah.
It was fun. Like, again, outcome boring because the same. That's the general viewer consensus. But the game itself, not boring.
No, I mean, definitely just this comeback itself is going to be one to remember, from a CS historic standpoint. Like we watched that happen. We watched that happen. And this is not, not a Nuke of 10 years ago where this happened all the time. I think the stat was like from 11-0 or is it even 10-0. There was like one
9-0,
comeback,
but it was 11-0 even, because I looked back and it was there. That was 11-0 as well, like the Mongols against the Aurora.
Yeah,
but it's 72-2 now, where the only twice did a team lose from 11-0 on big events.
Wow.
In CS2, so very, very rare. That's something I wanted to give props to Blast for. Obviously, this is B-Trams doing it in the background, but them hiring him for these little things mid-game was great. Like, it just really really underlined how difficult this is to do in these days in CS2, right? To make such a massive comeback, because whatever it is, like less than 1%. So that's great that we got to see, like, in the moment, like how difficult it would be, and they did it. I think it was at 9-0, right? They did that. Something
like that.
And obviously, you at that point you're just like, yeah, so it's going to be another one that they lose, and then you see just how it's not going to be that. And like by 12-9 or whatever it was, you're like, yeah, okay, this is going to overtime, and they're going to win. You just know it's going to happen. Like, that's the worst part too.
The impressive thing from a NAVI standpoint, at least for me, is you lose that comeback. They weren't mentally defeated going into their choice of Anubis. They were still in it. And that for me was a positive, that they didn't just get the dress down, that they waited to Dust 2 to have that happen to them. But at least they kept that fight up there, which I think was a positive sign. As well with that spreadsheet I put up before. Now, I'm assuming that all these tournaments do the same thing in the grand final. Someone who has all of the rule books handy, that'd be great. I don't have all the rule books handy. But in a best of 5 grand final, you want to be the team who picks first and third, right? So you want to be first ban, then your opponent bans, then you pick first map, they pick second map, you pick third. Vitality have been first pick in 3 of the 5 finals. So they've got that going for them. Against Spirit, they weren't, and against FURIA, they weren't, but against where am I here? Paravision at Cluj, they were. And Rotterdam against Navi, they were. Oh, I got it wrong with the Rio one. No, I said Rio. And here they were as well. So those are the 3 where they were. And if like they already have the advantage of being the best team in the world and have such a super strong map pool, if they're getting 2 of the 3 choices, that's probably why we're seeing so many of these 3 mappers. Because what you're coming in, you're going, all right, I get second map, we got to take a swing here, we got to try and fucking see if we can take something. And if you don't win that, it's like, now we're going into their map, third choice, and we're down 0-2 against the best team in the world. It's like, we're fucked. So maybe need a bit of luck on the side with the coin tosses for that one. Okay, we're going to talk more about Navi, Vitality, etc. a little bit later on, because we're going to talk about Astana and we're going to talk about Atlanta. So I only kind of wanted to hit the headlines of rivals, if that's okay with you guys, and then we can focus in a little bit more on some of the other details of teams who are going to be at these other events. I put as my second one here, FaZe Entertain, and I was having a lot of thoughts about this when the game was live. This is mainly the G2 series, so let me just pull that one up. But FaZe in general had a better performance than I think a lot of people were expecting. We did the what are the odds last time round. You guys were high on them being able to win a best of 3 over 2 events, but I don't think
they won 2 already.
Yeah, but I don't think the expectation was for them to beat FURIA.
No, I thought it was going to be Gamer Legion.
Right. So FURIA is our next topic. We'll get to that in a second. That's a massive win for FaZe. Then they play against G2, which I thought this was a great game of Counter-Strike from an entertainment standpoint. The Dust 2 13-11, Ancient 13-9, and then Mirage 16-13. So those are 3 of the most brawly maps in the entire pool. Like, if you wanted to have a best of 5 on only brawly maps, you add Anubis and you add Cash to that, and you just fucking go to town. Like, you are eating good as a Counter-Strike enjoyer if that's the map pool that you have. Now, like, while I'm watching, sometimes I'm just writing things in like a Google Keep document, just so it's like, oh, when I am doing a podcast later, write these things down and I'll remember what I meant when I wrote 3 or 4 words.
Sometimes you don't remember.
Right? But I have written something down regarding this game. And essentially what I wrote was like, remove the nameplates, right? It doesn't matter who the players are. You could have any names there, right? You could have anything. But the game that is played, and you need a willing participant. FaZe love to play that style, and G2, they have no drama playing that style as well. You need to have a willing participant to play a game with so much pace, right? And excitement. Right? And that pace is is not just in like rushes and fast plays, but it's in the quick decision making of pushing a smoke and looking to isolate that 1v1 and, you know, not giving them time to set up the post plant. And that game is just adrenaline, bang, 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 bang. Like, of course there's saves, of course there's ecos, but the intense moments are intense. And like from a caster perspective, those are the most fun games, because then me as the color guy, I'm just on the roller coaster. I'm just like, oh, he's coming in, they're flashing, they're doing this, and the play-by-play guy's going nuts, and I'm going and that's when people go mad. All this guy does is go right. It's fun where I don't have to do a really like drawn out overpass. As you can see here, they're taking connector control. This double Molotov, it's going to push the guy out. All right, they got a guy at balloons. All right, now we're going to go second stage. Now we need to get bathroom. Those games, whatever, they exist. But these games that FaZe play and having G2 as a willful participant, that is sick Counter-Strike. That's where I'm watching. I'm in it. I'm loving it. I'm bang, bang. And that, I think, reminded everybody of why FaZe is enjoyable. But what do we take from their result? Like beating G2, beating FURIA, losing NAVI twice, Natu as a stand-in, twisting game leading, future of the project, who the fuck knows? Mark. What do we make of this? Or do we just say this was an action film that we went and we watched with the boys and we loved it? It had Jason Statham in it. You know, maybe The Rock appeared. There was explosions and we were enjoying it. It's kind of like the Formula One movie with Brad Pitt.
Or that one.
That's a great film, right? Not because it's gonna be up there with any of the like Shawshank Redemption or something like that because of the story and all this. It's just a well-shot film with some action that's got some stuff for the boys. You know, you get a bit emotional, you know, bro, and you got your other bro and you're broing out and you're doing real manly shit. That's kind of what a FaZe game is. That's kind of FaZe Counter-Strike.
You were saying movies, you know, like I think it's more like Expendables because you mentioned Jason Statham, right? And like it could be any of the guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like the fucking most ridiculous movie you could possibly imagine. That's Expendables, and that's FaZe. That's FaZe when they're playing at their, let's say at their best. There's just chaos all over the place. Everything's blowing up and all that stuff. It's fun to watch them like this. I also don't know what to take out of it. I will say I watched I don't know if it was a vlog or just a clip, I can't remember now, where there was like a Twists talk to the team like right after they won one of those series. I don't know which one. And he was like, from the way he was talking, it kind of made me feel like he will stay as the in-game leader. I don't know if you got the same impression, because he was saying something like, you know, I really thank you guys for the trust because, you know, obviously we're in a shit situation and blah, blah, blah. And like, you guys actually trusted everything I said and all these things. And I really thank you for it. And I think this is just the beginning. You know, he said something like that at the end. And I'm like, okay, that's an interesting thing to say in terms of like what we can expect in the future, like whether I'm reading too much into it or not reading too much into it. It's the only thing I can't do because they're not going to say what's actually going to happen. So that's the impression I got, that maybe it is the plan.
Yeah. Let's stop saying things, Chad. I'm fucking fed up of misconstrued Reddit threads and fucking nonsense. I'm just not going to say things. I'm going to not say a thing. Prof, you got a thing that you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. Honestly, it has a lot of the ingredients of a honeymoon period for FaZe. Not like it's an amazing honeymoon, but it's, you know, it is what it is. You're going to, you know, 3-hour car trip. You're not going to, you know, the Hawaii or whatever, but they're making the most of it. That's how it feels. Yeah. And you know, these two games that they won, it was honestly G2 had a really good position for a good portion of Mirage was the third map, if I remember correctly. And FURIA, they just smashed, and a lot of it felt just playing on like faster timings, a bit YOLO, and, you know, going in together, hitting a site, not overcomplicating things, and honestly having more firepower. Natu wasn't like insane or anything, but he's doing more than karrigan was, obviously, which doesn't surprise anyone. And Twist is still solid despite calling. So I think these are things that kind of come together, and, you know, they provided something. Brokey had some moments. Frozen was Frozen always. I don't take too much away from it. This is what we spoke about at the start of the show. Yes, they beat FURIA, that's really struggling right now. They getting on top of G2 honestly is kind of concerning for G2. Like they for sure were can't be happy with that. But I just think that when it came to like these chaotic situations, they are better. And G2 allowed them to get into these situations because they think they can also play this.
Yeah, G2 didn't have to play that way.
I honestly think they're not that good at it as they think. I think the rounds that they were winning a lot of them were just like calls from spawn and stuff like that. They're not saying you need to play only that, but this YOLO style, this is Twist's IGLing in Liquid. This is also what worked for that like short period of time, was kind of similar to this. Even though what was interesting, when I looked at the stats, like FaZe's CT side was really bad. They won like 40%, 42% of rounds on CT side. So it's mostly the T side and maybe a bit of the, back and roll stuff that was just catching people off guard. And then for Navi, it didn't. Navi was just ready for it. And Alexi spoke about it. He said, just need to slow down the rounds, because when you drag it out as much as possible, they're not going to have the protocols to deal with everything that goes at you. So they beat them twice very, easy overall. So I think teams will look into that a bit more. And obviously, if you don't have the firepower,
wasn't that obvious? Ice out FaZe. Don't let their players get in 3v3 crazy situations. Like, what are we talking about here?
Well, sometimes I don't know. It is obvious. It seems obvious, but it's maybe not easy to pull off in the games. And it goes into FURIA, the whole situation that they have right now.
Well, let's get into FURIA. Let's see. This is a random selected, free to use siren sound effect from YouTube. Guys, good luck to all of your ears. And hopefully this doesn't have something else behind it, and it is just a siren, because this is live. Perfect. The
That's
perfect siren. And one
I like this one. It's military-based siren. I like it, like a silo or something.
I thought I heard here in Malta the other day, the FURIA HQ, because what the bloody hell's happening, Dan? They don't have the bread, the onions, the patty, the sauce, the lettuce. They have nothing right now, Dan. What's happened to FURIA? I couldn't even answer this as a question.
The only thing they have is a pickle. They're in one.
Yeah.
Rick.
So this gets grimy real quick, right? And people might come out and quickly be like, yeah, well, Fallen said he's got to retire, so nobody cares anymore, man. It's like, well, they were kind of already on this downward trajectory before Fallen had come out and said that he was going to retire at the end of the year. Their results, right? They're in the Krakow final. Okay, that's great. We love that. Everybody loves that. They even take a map, and we're like, all right, they're keeping on. They're keeping on. Last season, towards the tail end, they had this run. They were feeling like contenders against Vitality going into the Budapest major, and then they flopped there. So this year they come third, fourth at Bounty, right? Fine. They go to Krakow. They come second. They take a map off Vitality. They go to Cluj. They come fifth to eighth. All right. A little bit more concerning, like slightly more concerning, but okay. EPL, Fallen couldn't make it to the LAN portion. So they don't end up qualifying in the online portion. So no blemish on the record there. That one I'm giving to, and that one's for free. They go to, where was it? Rotterdam?
The Rotterdam was there in the
They didn't make the playoffs in Rotterdam, right?
Let me see. I don't think so.
Everything's fucking blurring.
I don't think they made the playoffs in Rotterdam.
It's a blur.
Rotterdam 7-8. They lost to Aurora in the group stage, and then Falcons in the last deciding game.
Rio, they make it straight to the semis. They don't win a game, whether that's the third place decider or the semi. They come fourth. And then they go to Rivals, and they don't make the playoffs again.
And that's the FaZe and Gamer Legion. Because these two losses are definitely damning. Because the losses they had at EPL were, to not so great teams, but they're online, so you can be like, oh, okay. Other losses were all to like top 5, 8 teams or something like that, which is still a fall off from like last year, winning 4 tournaments, depending on how many you want to count. But yeah, winning a few titles there, but losing to Gamer Legion and FaZe is kind of inexcusable, really.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the stats from Rivals. Yakinda 1.06, molodoy 1.05, Case Rodo 0.96, Fallen 0.8, Yuri 0.78.
I mean, even for molodoy, that's a little bit misleading. He's just, I don't know. Like, I was a big defender of molodoy just because he used to have these ups and downs. Like he had huge peaks, but also bad lows. But it feels like it has the balance is off now, where he has a lot more of those lows, even if he still has a lot of those peaks. And it just like he's going from a game where he just carries the shit out of FURIA to one where he does nothing, and that's seems like a pretty common occurrence now. And that's not great, if especially for a guy who's so dedicated to the op, like that, like he's taking up so many resources, and like you want some level of consistency out of the guy.
Yeah, I think like it's hard to just put it all on molodoy. I don't think that's what you're doing here.
I'm not saying that just like as a quantifier to the 105 rating. It just feels like he's like one of the people up front, but he also had really bad maps.
I was going to say though, it is fair that we start there, because one of the sentiments coming out of the camp, and I think this was something Sid said, maybe it was something Fallen said, but the concept being whenever we have the money to get an AWP, we're getting it in his hands, right?
Yeah.
And in the modern game, there's only a couple of AWPers who you'd want to have an AWP every round, and those AWPers don't even have an AWP every round. Like m0NESY is an extremely proficient rifler. I think, Wonderful's shown some good moments on the rifle, for example. So you can't always have an AWP, and then like that has to be an understanding of FURIA. So then where is the game falling apart otherwise? Like, are there other key areas? Like, do they just not look like they're in it with the meta? Is it just because the breakdown of what they're trying to run is so reliant on molodoy being able to find them entries or impact on the AWP all the time? And then that means if that is the case, then don't have comprehensive enough of a playbook outside of that. That's where you need your K Seratos and your Kinders of the world to be finding you action and space and stuff. So it is concerning now. I think that it's no longer just like, okay, we'll keep an eye on this. We've been keeping an eye on this, and they've fallen out of the contender bubble, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's it, like they're still a team that can play very good Counter-Strike, but it's not consistently. That's the problem. There's no consistency to their game, which is essentially what you said, Striker. I've just rehashed it in a more long, shitty version.
Well, I was talking about molodoy specifically rather than the whole team. I also don't think that he's like he should be blamed for all of it, right? Because this event we also saw Serato fall into those traps, right? And usually he is the one who you do see some consistency from, right? So there's clearly, I don't know if it's like a systematic thing, where they just can't connect properly, like in those games where they just get destroyed, because it was like 2 maps where they didn't even have a chance in this, and that just doesn't really happen very often to FURIA, because they always seem competitive.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for molodoy, just to keep on that topic, there's the interview we did with them before the start of the tournament. It was pretty lengthy. It didn't really like blow up or anything, but Lucas was there and he was asking him a bunch of questions about, like,
I listened to it. Yeah,
I did yesterday. Yesterday, Jim was just like listening to all of the interviews on Spotify. It was so good, caught up on everything. And some of the stuff that I read, I was just like, fuck it, I listened to them anyway. And it was pretty interesting, because it was a lot of molodoy saying, I need to be a team player. I need to play for the team. I can't just, play for myself and frags and blah, blah. And for me, it's interesting because obviously he was last year playing a lot for himself, re-peaking, playing very aggressively, but that's what brought him success. And obviously, people will get used to you and counter you and all of these things. But also, if this is your strength, you kind of need to play to your strength. You have
to keep reinventing how you're going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, but molodoy is not ZywOo, right? They are very different. He's definitely not Jame. So you don't want a molodoy to try to play like ZywOo, because he's then you're going to be losing a lot of his qualities. He's more of a m0NESY, who is also can sometimes lose your rounds. I think he's getting a bit lost in that process, which doesn't mean he'll never be good or he can't learn. But I think he's in the middle of this process of finding, okay, I know how to shoot the op and I can pull off some good rounds, but I need to be more useful to my team round to round, regardless of if I get someone in my crosshair or not. And honestly, I don't think he did that really well in this tournament, because in these rounds, like Nuke against Gamer Legion or whatever, he started 0-7 down, and then they get into like a 3v2, and he's looking for a duel when he has the bomb, and he's like trying to pass on the bomb, but then the smoke passes, then his teammate dies, then he re-peaks, then he dies as well. It's just like, he's not really locked into what the team needs to do in this moment, when all you need to do is just get to the bomb site, put the bomb down. You have like the situation is really good. You don't need to really do anything in this moment. So I think that's a process that he is in. And I mean, he also spoke about like Fallen leaving, how that is like super emotional to him, because he joined this team to learn from this guy pretty much. Yeah. And he's been learning from this guy. And I feel like he feels the time has come too fast. And now he's like, okay, I have 6 months to learn everything and be goated. Like, that's kind of how I feel like this is the pressure he's putting on himself, which is also causing this negative trend from molodoy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I'm just flicking through their results, like in terms of map scores, and the ones that are glaring, it's not just like the fact that they lost to the name of FaZe. It's the 13-3, the 13-4, right? Those are the two lost maps in the best of 3 series that went all 3. And a part of me goes, I can explain that away, right? I can go, okay, well, Twist was calling, so it might be like a pattern of calls that they weren't expecting, whatever, and you can, lose to some momentum calling, and it's not like FaZe can't shoot hard, I can explain that away. Because then you have like a lot of other results that are close. Like, sure, they lost 2-0 to Falcons, but that's third place decider. They lose to Vitality in a 2-0, but it was 13-10, 13-10. So yeah, it's not like a blowout. So I think there should be some concern, but right there, this is kind of like how I'm plotting the like emotional dump that they would have had in recent time, right? So start of the year, they make it to a final, which is great. It kind of washes away some of the worries they maybe had from the major. Then their results after that, they're not terrible results. Like, they're not results where you're like, oh, like, you're going to be a little bit disappointed when you lose a game, for sure. Then this Rio situation happens where expectations are really high, right? They want to win in Brazil, right? Whether you're the foreigners who want to win for the Brazilians or the Brazilians who haven't been able to do it and really want to win that. And then you get the emotional news of your captain and in-game leader hanging up the mouse at the end of the year. So then, your heart's super in it. You have all this stuff, all this motivation doesn't go your way. It falls away from you. That now you have this big emotional dump. You go into the next event. You're dealing with the reality of, well, not winning another event in your country. For Fallen, he will never have another opportunity if he does end up retiring at the end of the year, right? That's it for him. For karrigan and Yuri, you're probably asking yourself, fuck, how many times are we going to go out here and not get the job done? And then you have the reality of that into the next event. So here's what I'll do. If they have a bounce back in Astana, we can turn the sirens off. But I reckon we keep the sirens on repeat until we see what happens in Astana, because I agree with like the sentiment of, yeah, they need to be able to work out how to get the best out of molodoy, which also means when molodoy's not playing his best.
Yeah,
sounds like
when he's on a C game, how do they still win, right?
Yeah,
because that seems to be the biggest problem for this team. And I mean, honestly, Yuri's form has been pretty dog shit this year. Like, he is, for me, I know the whole team is like, oh, Fallen's retiring at the end of the year, and then we're going to figure out what next. But like, if he continues playing like this, they should make a roster change like in the offseason, because there's no need for you to play for 6 more months and then change your IGL when you're struggling also just on an individual level off of one player. And he is and should be replaceable. Like, it shouldn't be that hard to find a player to play his roles or move around some people like karrigan, who can also anchor more.
Surely they don't make any changes this year now. Like,
I think that's, if they're thinking like that, I think they're making a big mistake.
But what do you want to, like, because they probably don't know what they're going to do when Fallen leaves. So if you don't know what you're going to do when Fallen leaves, like right now you're America's team for VRS. If you replace Yuri, which I agree, you like for that role, I'm sure you could find a replacement. But if you replace him and you go with a European,
yeah, you can't do that.
So you find yourself in a weird spot.
I mean, why can't you?
I'm not sure if FURIA would want to get away with the Brazilian core. I would be surprised if they would kind of leave that. I know it's more symbolic at this point where it's just one more player, right? But it matters a lot. That's, let's say their flag is still Brazilian at this point. I think, to the organization. So I would be surprised if that was the change, really.
Just get Insani and make it work.
Well,
yeah.
You could make that work.
How long is this guy's contract? He's been there for 7 years, bro. Let him go. Just let him go.
You could make it work. Let's say Fallen retires, Yakinda takes over in-game leadership. You bring in Insani. You know,
Well,
we can
yeah.
start to work it out. We can start to
There's a
work it
world.
out.
There's a world.
He's there since January 2023. So he's been there for 3 years. Actually, from the academy
More.
in the academy
yeah.
2021.
Yeah,
He's been there for 5 years in MIBR.
justice for Insani. We might get there one day. All right, boys. Let's leave the rival stuff. Do we want to talk generally about the event? Like time zone, a lot of the games are on pretty late for the group stage, so I was only watching the first couple of games of the day. I wasn't staying up late to watch that stuff.
same.
That was too much for me.
The main talking point is just the audience situation, which
It looked okay on the grand final, or were they just picking good camera shots?
mixture, I guess.
Because like Friday, as usual, not great. Saturday, not great. A little bit concerning as well after Rio, where Rio showed good turnout for FURIA. They also had decent turnout for some of the other games, but not great turnout. I wouldn't say it was like fantastic. I liked the stage that Blast went with. I know it was very PGO-esque in terms of similar in terms of what they do at Cluj. But I think that format is really good. Obviously, you need the crowd to make it work, otherwise it does just look like empty bleachers. So that was
There's the whole story, the whole thing that Flom said and then made its way on Reddit about like the tickets being bought by scalpers and then people didn't want to buy or whatever. Well, which I don't know if it's true or whatever, but the story I heard is that it was sold out, like at least the lower parts or whatever.
Okay.
And why the people didn't show up is unknown, really. So it's a really weird situation to have. And I mean, obviously we had a lot of events in the US and
They generally do well as the thing.
Ticketmaster exists in the US. So it's not like this is the first event that we have that would make me believe like, oh, it's just because the American like system of buying tickets is fucked. Like it must be other things. And there are some like fucking hurricane warnings and stuff like that. Okay. So I have no idea what Spirit Airlines closing or whatever could have influenced people to not go, because I don't know, maybe if people got their fucking flights canceled, maybe you just don't want to buy new ones last minute.
That's fair.
I have no idea, but that was definitely the biggest downside of the event, because otherwise I feel like it had good teams, had like a good setup.
Yeah, but like Game of Legion Australis isn't like a blockbuster arena game.
No, for sure. That should never be an arena ever in any
history of Counter-Strike.
Someone just said this, Striker, you're the man to answer this. Yes. Could you explain the logic why Rivals Fort Worth isn't considered a big event? All previous Blast Rivals were.
It is.
Yeah, okay. So I thought that question felt a bit
maybe
odd.
It's possible we maybe fucked up and it's not in this. We didn't set it as one, but it is one.
Okay, there you go. We're answering questions live.
Let me see.
I think one of the things with that event, because
it is set as one.
It is? Okay. Yeah. One of the things with that event, and I mentioned it on the last episode, is like the format. The format doesn't do it any favors, right? Like, but I feel like that affects the people at home more than it affects the people in the arena. For the people in the arena, they're just going to go watch Counter-Strike, right? So it feels like, well, maybe not just the people at home, but I mean, people who are thinking about it from that angle. I think the format's bad.
I mean, it's also fair that the teams that were in the playoffs weren't great in terms of like who you're going to watch. Like, yes, FaZe end up doing it, but
FaZe NAVI Vitality is pretty good.
Yeah, FaZe NAVI, but Vitality don't really have a big fan base. Despite them obviously being this fucking mega dominant team, they've never had a big fan base that would pull huge crowds, other than, you know, when it was in Paris and things like that. They're obviously always going to be the villains these days, especially than anything else. So people aren't necessarily going to go there just for them. So maybe that's part of it as well, where, you know, the chances of getting your favorite team there were kind of low.
What if we turned bees into Counter-Strike fans? I just had a look. There are roughly 100 million managed honeybee colonies. I don't know how many bees per colony, but if we turn them into fans,
a lot of them,
maybe we could fill some arenas with bees. Could be a new plan.
But that's just been the vibe that I've gotten the last few tournaments, where people are just cheering for Vitality to lose, and like worse, that people are just getting fed up with Vitality just winning everything just because it's the expected result, and like there's no point, like from those kinds of perspectives, to watch a tournament when you know the end result in the end, right? So like part of it, you could see that. I think Prof said it in like our little group chat. It was like the winning moments, like the winning rounds, was horrible in terms of like the reaction of the crowd. Like for a second I thought the game wasn't over. Yeah, like, that's how bad it was. Like it was just so non-reaction completely that was like, is it Like, is there one more round that I missed something or what happened?
It's tough. Like, I think it's really hard as well. Like when you're commentating into an empty arena or an arena that's not like very vocal. I've had a couple of those. Like I've done team where it's been Russian team versus Russian team in Katowice, and it's like, fuck, this is tough. This is a tough one.
That's one thing I wasn't a big fan of from Blast in terms of how all of the hype moments, all of the like the scrawny intro, for example, and
they did that
some of the stuff
every game, I think.
I don't know now actually. I didn't watch the start of every game, so I'm not so sure. But the point is, they're like making an event look as like the biggest shit on the Counter-Strike circuit and everything like that. And even the desk was just like harping on this, like, yes, this confirms the Vitality era and blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, this tournament is like the least important out of everything that Vitality's probably won so far. That's like in terms of what it means to their era. Like, everybody's now looking towards the major as like the confirmation point if they don't already believe that this is their era, So like the way that everything at Blast like is just geared towards let's hype this matchup as much as possible, regardless of what the actual context is just very disingenuous. And I just didn't love how everybody who knows the Counter-Strike circuit knows the Rivals isn't the biggest tournament. And I know you're not just going to go into a desk and or an intro saying like,
it doesn't matter,
we know it's not the biggest tournament, it doesn't matter. But like, there's that versus the absolute exact opposite, as if this is a fucking major final, or like a Cologne final or Katowice final. Like, I know this is supposed to be like your big legacy event, but it realistically isn't. Like, your opens are better events than this, way better actually. In terms of the teams that are good that go there, the arenas that you pick, like, it's generally been much better tournaments, right?
Yeah,
and those have actually worked. But then you're trying to make this one look like your big jewel of the crowd or whatever you call it. So I wasn't happy about that. I know Blast have done it a lot in the past, where like everything's hype and everything's like super fast flowing. This like idea of them going from like talking to Thorin, which I think is great. Like, obviously you just want him to have like that 1 minute where he can't say anything too horrible. Like, it's just such a masterstroke for whoever came up with that, to just put Thorin on the co-stream where you can't be held responsible for whatever he says on his own stream, which is great. I think that's like how you use Thorin these days, which is obviously, you just want to reel him in and whatever if you want him on your broadcast, but you can't do that to Thorin, so you just have to let him do him and let him do him on his own broadcast. I think that's great. But then you also go to the fucking French co-streamers who are like no personalities whatsoever. And I don't even know these guys. Like, I've never spoken to them. I barely ever even seen their faces or anything like that. It's nothing against them, but it's like, why are we talking to the French broadcast, which is followed exclusively by French people on the international stream? Like, what's the point? Like, it's just for the sake of keeping it flowing, like jumping from one thing to another, as like Blast really love to do. Like, a lot of the ideas that they were coming up with for the broadcast, I felt like some of the ideas were good, but just the execution wasn't great in terms of how the show went in the end. So like, it didn't feel like the greatest tournament for me.
I have a lot of things to say, but again, we won't say any of them. We won't do it. We won't get into it. The thing that
why not? I mean, because you're ESL shell.
People, yeah, like. But this main thing I look at is like the broadcast and stuff that's happening. I agree with a lot of what you said. I think a lot of the stuff they did was pretty poor or quite tone deaf. But
I think that it's good that you're trying to do something a bit different compared to the other broadcasts, and that's what I've liked about Blast in a lot of ways, where their product is just way more like quick pace and like everything's kind of going from one thing to another. Sometimes you just have to do that for today's audience, and I think that works. It's just, again, ideas, some of them good, just it wasn't executed very well, and some of it was just a little too overhyped.
I think one thing, and I'm going to start taking more attention on this. It's easy to do when I'm not about to cast one of the games. But one of the things that irked me was the time from which Vitality got on the stage to be standing directly across from NAVI. So from that moment, from as soon as like they step on the stage, I think it was like 7 or 9 minutes, something like that, from that point until the game went live. And it's like, okay, walkouts, hype, Okay, cool. That's hype. That's what we want. The walkouts, we're ready to go. Fuck yeah, we're going to battle. Fuck yeah, fuck yeah, fuck yeah. Then they have to like do their huddle, take their seats and stuff. So you want that to be quick. You don't want that to be long. So you've gone
especially like as the like we were also talking about the stare down, right? Like in the middle, which I think is also great. Like to put the teams up against each other, like
and then bring it in after.
Yeah, because obviously ESL does this thing where they're like more facing outwards,
audience,
like into the audience, right? Like as a presentation rather than competition, right? Which I think is like that's the way to go generally. It's not even just about them facing each other like in the actual game, because in the arena sometimes it's a bit difficult to do that. It's a bit easier to do in studio, like to have those moments like back and forth.
Apex still
shouting at each. Apex is like an obvious exception, but he's going to do it no matter where you put him. Like what kind of, he will shout at you even if you're like all the way on the other side of the fucking hall and like things like that. So it doesn't really matter. But like that was great. But then, yeah, like if from the moment that you as a player like are looking at your opponent, like whatever it was, like Apex and Alexi or something like that, and then it takes another 10 minutes like after that stare down for you to actually play the game, it just feels from a player's perspective as well, like you're kind of like amped up, right? And like you want to beat this guy and like you want to do something, right? And then you're doing your huddle, which is normal, and like it has to happen just before a game. Then you sit down, you should play right away, right? And that's
the thing.
Mean, yeah.
From a viewer perspective, you also want to be like ramping into it, right? Because a game starts at 3. So like what that means is the walkouts should probably start at 2:50, so the game can go live at 3, and that's probably the goal of production and league ops and everybody. And there's always some delay, and if the team's like, no, we're still huddling, fuck off. Like you're in the grand final. If you want to find them, you can, but they don't care. They're in the grand final. They're gonna take an extra bit of time, or they're gonna do whatever they need to do if they feel they need to do it. But it went from walkout to then the players have to stand on stage the entire time while the host does some spiel, which like I think them looking at each other is great, but limit it. I think you can only stand and look at your opponent for so long before you do start to wander and you're looking up there. I can't hold eye contact with the in-game leader I'm about to mind fuck with calls for like 2 minutes. I can do it for 60 seconds.
Imagine somebody did that though. Like I'm surprised nobody's done that. Where it's just like complete stare down.
Yeah.
Like it'll be so fucking funny. It'll be so intimidating. Man.
So then
that
happens. Then they go back to do their huddles and everything and get ready, and then the desk's going, which is fine. You need something to fill the time. Then I don't know whose idea this is, but they made all the casters. This is the bit that boggles my mind the most of the whole thing. So we just had an intro with a fucking stage host. Now we have a caster out on stage doing some fucking spiel before the game goes live, and then the caster misses the start of the game because he's walking from the fucking stage to the casting booth. I would be furious as the commentator. I'm like, you want me to what? You want me to not be there for the start of the game? You mean the whole thing that people are here to watch, the fucking match? You want me to be on stage doing some fucking spiel? What? So we've just gone, what are we doing?
It's the play-by-play guy who's supposed to introduce it all, right? And like even from the casting perspective.
Yeah.
So,
and then the pistol starts with like multi-kills, and you as the caller need to fucking wrangle all of that until this guy is like winded fucking running over. No, that was a bit weird. I saw that at the start with Dinko, and I thought it was because someone was missing.
Dinko did it. Moses did it.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask Jason when I do talk and count. I'm going to ask him. I was like, what the fuck? Whose idea was that? I know some of my colleagues in the commentary department like the camera time. They want to make sure that they're on the camera so that people know that they're like them. I want to rock up in a t-shirt and jeans and commentate the fucking game. Like, let's just get the game on, guys. People don't give a fuck what we look like. Let's just commentate, shall we? Just get it going. I wanted to do Talk Encounter as a podcast with no visual. I wish you guys would use a picture of an actual sponge. I have to fucking go have a shower and shit before we do this every day so I can sit here and rant like a fucking idiot. Oh, I don't want people are perceiving me.
We should do that for like the intro next time.
Jimmy Charles is in chat going, last episode, he's going, Sponge needs another trip to Turkey. Like I don't want people looking at me, man. Just them.
Is that why you have the hat today?
I didn't do my hair. I was laying on the balcony. I was just trying to get some sun, so I just kind of, it's a bit floppy.
It's all right.
That's good. It's a good hat.
Yeah, good hat. Fucking Jimmy Charles.
I'm watching hairline, man. Fuck Jimmy Charles.
Jimmy Charles, you fucking Jimmy. All right, let's get into Astana versus Atlanta. Because right now it's us versus the world.
Yeah, I'm sorry for egging you on, by the way, because I was just like, we're not getting enough out of your opinion, for this.
They've got a lot. I've been going off my tree lately. Where are we? Let's talk about this unprecedented time we have coming up, everybody. 2 cities that both start with A hosting a Counter-Strike event at the same time. It's never happened before. I don't know if that's true.
Probably,
I was gonna
probably
say,
true.
like, probably could have.
Well, something I can jump onto stupidly.
There must have been like a fucking dream hack Anaheim and
I mean,
know, I
maybe
can't
a
come up with another
Bucharest
one.
and a Budapest.
Yeah,
at the same, you know.
maybe. But either way, we pretend what I said is bang on. So we have these two events going on. Let's just quickly give the cliff notes. We should start with Atlanta because that one starts first. And then we can talk about kind of what this means, what to expect. Sorry?
The other way.
Sorry,
Atlanta.
Astana starts
Astana
first.
starts
Too
first.
many fucking A's. So Astana starts in 4 days' time, starting on May 9th, runs to May 17th. It has, and we've highlighted this on the show before, $1.6 million in prize pool. I think PGL have been very smart. They want to try and make this one, well, it feels like they want to try and make this one the flagship. We know that there was a decent turnout last time. So this one has the second highest prize money out of all tournaments in 2026 other than EWC. It has 16 teams in attendance. It's a Swiss best of 3 the whole way through with 8 teams qualifying for the playoffs. It's 8-team straight line single elimination bracket with a best of 5 grand final and a third place decider. Now, the teams who are attending this event are FURIA, Aurora, Falcons, Spirit, Paravision, the Mongols, Mouse, G2. And then you kind of have the rest. I'll go into them, but you know, I feel like breaking this up is the way that at least I'm looking at these events. I don't know how you guys are, but like that group of 8 I've mentioned are in the field for teams that I'm going to be discussing in hopefully serious nature come major time, right? Those FURIA, Aurora, Falcon, Spirit, Paravision, the Mongols, Mouse, G2, all those teams should have some type of a claim to a playoff spot in one way, shape, or another, right? In some universe.
Can I
Whereas
suggest one slight, not even alteration in terms of like what should be the favorites, but I have my eyes on like one team that I feel like could get in between those.
Okay, let me just give my due respects to the other names. We've got 9Z, Monty, Heroic, Genomates, Magic, Fisher College, which should be fun, K27, and the Huns. So that rounds out Astana. Now, Striker, pick up where you left off, right? Because this field, I guess, talking about who the favorite is, I framed this event, at least the basics of the framing could be the best of the rest, but there's no NAVI, there's no vitality.
Yes. Yeah. So the one that I was kind of like have like as a close 9th, I feel like that's a bit closer than maybe people might have them, is Monty. Because I think they've been doing really well in tier 2 and they've won a bunch of the tier 2 tournaments. They made it to the final in a couple more of them. Like they've just really been punching above their weight on the tier 2. They made it into the major pretty comfortably too, like compared to like some of these teams that had to scramble last minute. Obviously, you know, FaZe, 3D Max being 2 of those. And they've just looked great on tier 2. So I kind of can't wait to see them on tier 1 and seeing, especially, you know, considering when some of these teams are in a bit of a, not a slump, but like in a weird position, you know, like a Mouse playing with a new lineup and some of these things. Like I feel like Monty could be the team to take a playoff spot against one of those 8s that you mentioned.
Okay, yeah. Well, those 8 are more like the headline acts or teams who have given us something to talk about this season so far. There are a few little keys to point out. Obviously, this will be the big one. Will be the karrigan debut with Falcons. Like that's probably one of the big ones. Mouse doing this Zelex promotion JL trial period. It felt like we haven't seen the Mongols for a while. Felt like we haven't seen the Paravision for a while.
Yeah, since Bucharest both, right?
So it's going to be a decent amount of time that these guys have had to practice, which the Mongols apparently don't do a lot of. But I'm interested to see kind of how their progressions are looking for different reasons. FURIA, as mentioned, we don't know if they're actually plummeting or not. But yeah, headline has to be Falcons debut with karrigan. But does that put them in favorites contention? Because Spirit had a pretty good Rio where they were looking like they're on an uptick, and they still got Saltfic there as the coach. We're looking for them to continue whatever mojo they found.
That's actually a good question. I actually didn't even think about like who do I rate as the favorite here, because definitely FURIA kind of fell off. Falcons are really good, but they haven't won anything in their playoffs and
they haven't played a game with karrigan yet.
Yeah, so I feel like Spirit has to be, if I had to choose one team, Spirit would have to be the favorite for me because of the uptick in Rio, and obviously they have Donk, so you know that's always, there's always a chance for them to win. So I think that's where I would put my eggs. I would put my eggs in that basket, all of them.
Okay. Yeah, it's a weird one. I like this is where when I started off the show and I was saying, you know, I don't have strong opinions about things. This is where this event, and I'm sure it'll be a really fun event. And I think that there's some fun matchups, and I want to see the progression of a bunch of teams. I obviously want to see the Falcons introduction.
I mean, that's the big one for me, no? Because that's the one that we are like kind of waiting to see whether that could be the last bit that Falcons have needed to actually start competing for titles.
Yeah, but what has to, okay, I guess either way, they either play well and you're like, yeah, okay, these guys look sick, or they play poorly and you're like, okay, well, he just joined, right? If they play poorly and he just joins, unless they're losing 0-3 and getting eliminated by Magic, I think that, you know, they have a lot of wiggle room in this event. I'm not saying one way or another based off the result in Astana how good I think the team can be with karrigan.
So what if they just win the tournament?
But that's it, right? They could fall into honeymoon territory too. Like This is the thing. This karrigan introduction. I don't
know if I can get behind that, just because Falcons haven't won anything regardless of honeymoon pressure, zero pressure, no pressure. There was obviously that one Bucharest tournament they won
with no pressure.
Well, that's the Bucharest one, yeah, that I was talking about. That you know, obviously that they ended up winning because of no pressure, but also that was a worse tournament than this is. Like they have much more competition here. In terms of that, so I think, it would be more telling.
Don't you think, Striker, though, that the mindset of the team going into this event isn't we have to win our very first event on debut with karrigan?
That's their mindset. No, but I'm just saying that's like if they do, that means something rather than just honeymoon. They'll the next tournament they're just going to be back to losing playoffs because we've seen
there's no pressure.
My thinking is like, for them to win, karrigan has to get more out of Kyosuke in playoffs. And if he gets that, that will show that, okay, this move can actually have some future promise, right? Because I think without it, I don't think, you know, m0NESY and Nico can just carry their shit all the way to a trophy in a field like this, because it's kind of a lot of difficult teams to beat in playoffs games. Like even if you go up against FURIA, if you go up against Spirit, obviously they've had issues against Paravision. So like if they do win the tournament and Kyosuke looks good throughout playoffs, I think that's a really big sign, to be honest.
I mean, I kind of understand, Chad, where you're coming from, but for me, this is the angle where I'm kind of siding with Striker. There is no expectation, Rio, because Kiksan was kicked soon. So they did great in the group stage. They came to the playoffs and they're playing the same team that they're already beat, and they're like, we're having a good time here. We're gonna beat these guys. We're gonna go deep. Fucking destroyed. So regardless of the no pressure, the pressure just create it. The expectations will appear at some point if they keep winning, going deeper and deeper. Maybe it's the quarterfinal, maybe it's a semifinal, but for sure in the grand final, if they're in the grand final, that energy will reappear and they'll have to deal with it in some way.
Okay, so for me, here's the three most notable things since the Heroic Core joined Falcons last year.
Okay.
The PGL Bucharest win. The Melbourne final with m0NESY, as m0NESY just joined. Literally first event, no practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking, I guess, recent history. In the final of Blast Bounty with a stand-in.
Yeah.
And Rio knowing they're getting rid of a player. There's probably more, but all of those...
Why is Rio that important?
Because they beat Vitality.
Okay, but then they got fucked in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, but regardless, they're still doing better in scenarios where there isn't pressure.
Yes. All right.
But I agree that the pressure will come. Don't get me wrong. I agree that the pressure will come, but they're able to get themselves into stronger positions than they traditionally can when the pressure is lower.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess taking into account what you're saying is like, even if they win the tournament, you're going to give them like maybe 50% of the credit, because you still need to give them some credit. They're still making some moves, but you're not going to be like, okay, this is for sure what I'm getting.
This is the thing. There's no conclusion. There's no hard conclusion.
There's not going to be, because obviously, like, especially without NAVI and Vitality, who have been like, well, I mean, Vitality, completely different question, but NAVI is the important one for me, who have been kind of like the most consistent team out of the rest, effectively, and that's why they're like the only ones going up against Vitality repeatedly, right? With that in mind, especially considering, you know, Furia's in this weird position, Aurora's obviously never been like a big big event contender for most tournaments they play. Spirit have just had an uptick, but just before that, they haven't been to a final for whatever it was, 8 months. Paravision are this classic like up and down team. Mongols is like the same fucking situation. Mauser are coming in with a new lineup. Like I understand within the context of the competition, doesn't necessarily mean that they're suddenly going to be beating Vitality to win the Cologne trophy, right? But I do think that it is a big sign if they do beat all this competition that has been around Falcons' level, even if not like necessarily so much better for a lot of it. Then I think that says a lot, especially for Falcons that haven't won anything with Monacy.
Well, I think that's the first hurdle, right? Is winning an event. Like getting Kiyasuke a trophy under his belt is a really big thing. If the final is against Spirit, that's really exciting. Falcons versus Spirit as an Astana grand final. Like
that'd be great.
I would say, can we fast forward right now and watch that? That would be epic. Like I think that would be really fun, especially with the way Spirit looked recently.
Or Paravision against Spirit, like that would also be kind of sick.
I mean, Dastan winning in.
Oh yeah, that would be
Astana,
nice. It'd be feel good for Dastan.
That would be fire.
There would be fucking jokes forever.
If you had Paravision, Furia, Falcons, and Spirit as your top 4, that's like as far as players
that's
are going.
super realistic too. Like that's very realistic.
Pretty stacked. So I think right, what's going to happen now is, guys, we're going to bleed back and forth between these two tournaments because. Right. This is something we've been discussing since the introduction of the VRS and then the TOR and everything that goes with it, is the idea that we're going to get to points in the calendar where teams are going to have to make choices, right? And teams are going to either pick an event based off of its location, its prize pool, their visa capabilities, et cetera, right? We've had some teams who are skipping events just not to get burnt out, like Vitality. We've had some teams skipping events for visa stuff like Falcons. There's been a whole mixed bag. Right, so Atlanta starts on the 11th, so a couple days after the beginning of Astana. It runs until the 17th. It's $1 million prize pool. It's 16 teams as well, but they're running the 2 groups of 8 with 3 teams per group making it through. Only got a couple more tournaments from ESL with the 6-team playoffs. So this one, the field is nowhere near as exciting, but they do have Vitality and NAVI, right? So they're one group of teams, right? Where I had that strong, solid group of 8 and then Striker threw in Monty to give them 9. Well, in Atlanta, we've got 2 elite teams, Vitality and NAVI. Then you've got a bit more of murky waters. You've got your Astralis, you've got Foot, who hopefully Lonks will be there. They're their own group. Then you've got FaZe and BC Game, who I'm going to put in like the Ricky Martin group. They're like entertainers. They're going to come out. Right. Yeah, mate. Yeah, they're going to come out. They're going to shake that thing. They're going to put on a show for you, and you like the names. People like Ricky Martin. They're going to go out and watch Ricky Martin. Is he still singing the best as he used to sing? I don't know. Maybe he is. Shout out to Ricky.
But he looks better than ever, bro. Did you see him?
I haven't. Ricky Martin may be a very bad example. I could be upsetting Ricky Martin fans everywhere. But my point is, we're not tuning into FaZe and BCG because we want to watch good Counter-Strike. We want to watch players or teams that we like and know. Or we want to watch a car crash. Then you've got like this middling group of guys who are all like, we're here. Are we to be feared? Probably not, but we are here. That's your Gamer Legions, your Bates, your Legacies. I don't want to put M80 in that conversation, but they're in the conversation. Bet Boomers, Liquid. It's pain, passion.
Liquid is there. To talk about Liquid.
I like how
you'd be excited. Sinners is there.
There you go. Yeah, that's
they're their own group as well. Yep. So the field is obviously much weaker in Atlanta.
I like how you didn't even get to the last name on the list.
BC Game.
There you go.
He mentioned it with FaZe. He put him
and Ricky Martin.
Okay.
But what do we
get him?
What do we feel about this? Because we know Vitality aren't really practicing. We know that NAVI really want to beat them. NAVI are also hanging around in the States. Astralis, Hooksy was less than happy with how they performed. Rivals.
What was the quote?
Something about his grandma, his dead grandma.
We would have lost to my dead grandma.
It's like, what the fuck?
Honestly,
that was a good interview.
That's a banger.
So there's three or four teams I can be excited about, right? Vitality, Navi, Astralis, Foot.
Yeah. For me, it's mainly Foot that I'm looking at. If
which one, the left or the right?
Oh man. Can people stop with these, man? Like for a while at least. Like it just doesn't matter if you're mentioning this team once. It's always gonna produce jokes.
I just didn't
do we know
see
for
it
sure
coming
that
from Chad. That's
yeah.
it.
Do we know for sure that Lonks is is playing?
Mate, I don't know.
Because I know that originally it was kind of very up in the air. Like he just said, like he would be back as soon as possible, but they haven't said anything on it so far. I'm hoping they will, but I'm not 100% sure that they're going to be at like full force, even if he does come back necessarily.
That's a good point too. So it's just obviously I don't even know what point I'm trying to get to here. The field is more watered down. We're in a different place at least.
It just feels like, you know, what the fuck is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas for like Vitality and Navi? Like what are they doing here? Like they should just be seated in the playoffs and chill there and wait. Funnily enough, they're probably gonna lose and clip this. But you know what I mean? The rest of the teams feel like they all have something to prove against each other.
Yeah.
But and then it's just like fucking world champion Floyd Mayweather or some shit. It's like what the fuck is he doing at a weekend tournament? That's such a huge gap between the top and the rest.
So is it a free win for Vitality?
Well, the fucked up thing is like if they won the previous event with no practice, and now they're not going to practice once again because they're going to just fucking around. So Mezzi and Apex going to New York.
Rob's tweeting about hiring a car.
Rob's is looking for a car, and they're going like to Yosemite National Park and fucking San Francisco hiking.
I think it's great.
It sounds like great vibes. But they're not going to practice, but they're not going to lose to any of these teams in the group stage. So they're going to again get to the playoffs, and then they're going to be warmed up, and they're going to be ready to roll and win another title. And honestly, obviously, it's just going to be another Navi game that's going to define this tournament. It has to be, unless Navi like fuck up somewhere else earlier in the tournament. But it just feels like it's going to be another matchup between these two, be it in the grand final or a semi or something. Which honestly, maybe a semi would be better, so it's not a best of 5. Like that could maybe be the best chance for Navi to win something like this, because
that means that they would have to lose to Passion in their opening game or Sinners or Gamer Legion in the game for the playoffs. So none of those feel likely. Then let's assume that the best team sweeps the lower half of the bracket, which isn't a guarantee. That would be Navi versus Astralis. I have a hard time seeing Astralis beat Navi. I'm just trying to think of the most recent time I saw them play. They could, I guess, but there's no overpass immediately. That's where my mind goes first for Hooksy and the boys. So the last time they played them was in Cluj, and they got 2-0'd, 13-10 Nuke, 13-6 Mirage. But that's a while ago now. That's back in February. So that would be the case. But yeah, for me, I just sit here and go, okay, if Vitality win this and they stay on course and win the major, which I think is theirs at the moment, if they play to what we know they're capable of playing, right? There's other good teams, but it would take one of the anomalies to happen. They could be halfway to another Grand Slam before the tournament break. Actually, over halfway, because they'll have won a championship level event.
Yeah.
They could be almost there.
I do think that it's actually, it's weird to say, but I think it would be good for Vitality to not win this. Yes.
Last time they won 7 straight.
No, I know that, but obviously, then we saw, after the major, like when they came back, then that also was a dip. But it's more about, it's not even about that I just want to see somebody challenge them, but I just mean from their perspective, I don't know, if going to another final, like all the way and like just playing the entire tournament, regardless of the fact that they're not like putting 100% focus on it, like it's obviously going to take a toll for them to keep going like this. And I wonder if for them it was the best option, to even, like, obviously they wanted to go to this tournament just in case they didn't close the Grand Slam. And so they're just doing as much as they can out of the opportunity, right? But they still have to play the tournament. They'll still have to probably play 6 or whatever, 5 out of the 7 days of the tournament, right? And then have to come back to Europe, and then like take a little bit of time off at least before the major. They still have a good time. They still have a good time leading up to the major for sure.
And they're taking a vacation now as well, which that's the bit that I guess should be the headline. But
we also saw that not really working out for them so hot when they were when they came back from the major, right? And then they come into the new season and they weren't on the same vitality that we saw at the end, you know. And
But they
then
just
that-
did it at Rivals, and they didn't practice then either. So
and
it's
they
like,
could have lost like all 3 series that they played
yeah, but
to the
this
teams.
is
Like,
an
they
easier
didn't.
field.
They didn't, obviously, but yeah, but they could still. I mean, look, they almost lost the map to Gamer Legion. I mean, that's also not something that we would have expected out of them, right? They almost lost the series to G2. They almost lost the series to fucking Foot, who didn't play, who didn't even play with their full lineup. Like, there's clearly
It's possible.
There's clearly possibility for them to lose games. They just don't, because like just somebody comes in at the last minute to save the day all the time somehow. But like there will become a day where that doesn't happen, you know. And it clearly seems that now they're in a position where they are most vulnerable. And like if this, you know, then they will have a month off effectively out of officials. So like I wonder if this was the best situation to get out of it, you know. I can definitely see them losing this tournament to Navi finally, you know, because they've just been so close to losing a lot of these games.
Final between the two of them, right?
Yeah.
Third in a row as well.
Third in a row.
Yeah. Okay.
But I just want to say
they played Spirit against Rio, but you mean the third? Yeah, they played 2 other finals before.
I just wanted to say from Navi's point of view, because people are talking chat as well when we were talking about the final that they just played, is like criticizing Navi and everything. And obviously you can, because they're in a good position. They didn't win on Anubis, didn't win on Nuke. But who else is this good in the scene? Like they're still the only team actually making it through, not faltering to random people every other tournament. Falcons loses to whoever is in playoffs, literally. FURIA can lose to anyone, it seems like. They can beat everyone.
Mao's just rebuilt.
What did you say?
I said Mao's just rebuilt.
Mao's just yeah, right? So
Paravision hot and cold.
As much as you can criticize them for some stuff, they're still a super solid team. And we were talking about it after the EPL win. It's like they have what it takes to be the second best right now, and they are that team. So that's also counts for something.
Yeah, I did this as well. I know we're almost done, but this was, where is it? Lucas, I'm going to share my screen again. Where the fuck is it? There it is. I did this too as one of my spreadsheet things. This is like all of the finals of the year so far. Well, it's all the playoffs of the year so far. Just to kind of like, you know, this has been the timeline where we just finished Blast Rivals down here. We got Astana, Atlanta, CAC, and IEM Cologne, right? Obviously, this is where we finished. But it's interesting to take a look. Like, you start the year, right, at this was online into LAM, Paravision winning, Falcons with the stand, and Vitality Furia. Then you go Vitality Furia in the final. We think, okay, we're back to normal. Then you go into Cluj, Vitality Paravision. It's like, okay, well, Paravision, they came back with a better result than what they showed in Krakow, but they're new, they're young. We go into EPL, no Vitality. We're like, okay, well, it's the best of the rest. There's no Falcons here as well. NAVI Aurora final. We go to Bucharest. This is where there was no good teams, and Foot sees the opportunity. They played some exciting Counter-Strike just to EPL the week before, and so did Astralis. You go to Rotterdam. Vitality's back. They take down NAVI in the final. So it's like NAVI continuing their good form from EPL, which is nice, right? Like that's a nice uptick. And then NAVI have essentially continued that form since. You go to Rio. They make it to the playoffs, 5th, 6th, but they lose to Vitality, right? So that's fine. They go to Rivals. They're in another final, and now they're going to be over here at Atlanta. So this is where it's the most interesting. Astana and Atlanta, though, is because it's 2 events on at the same time, which it's hard to draw conclusions, but still points of interest for all of these events. And then CAC, which won't have Vitality, but will have a bunch of other big names too. So yeah, it's a bit all over the place at the moment. But at least there's things that are going on. There's things to talk about. It's just hard to draw any clear conclusions.
Yeah.
And maybe there's no need to. Anyway, I'm closing this now. So yeah, we need to do a what are the odds? Any ideas? People didn't like my spreadsheet formatting. Someone liked my color coding. What's the? Someone just asked, and I did put a notepad note about this. I wrote it down when you guys mentioned it during Skinionaire. What was the? I didn't read the Gamer Legion article. I was hoping that Mira had a TLDR. It was just too long.
I was thinking maybe we need to hire like someone to make like TikTok shorts and be like, hey guys, we just dropped this banger article on HLTV. So TLDR, this is what happened with Gamer Legion. I think that would be a banger. This needs to be a zoomer that's gonna do this.
Okay.
Floating head.
Okay. Who could we get to do that?
Hawka.
Yeah, no one's coming to mind. Maybe Hawker. Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Or
anyway. What were you saying? Will we do what are the odds?
Yeah.
Ah,
We can do that. I mean, the article was it was a good article. There's a lot going on. It's really hard to summarize it. Just doesn't seem like the greatest place to be.
Here's what I want to know: are they still the same owners?
Yeah.
So the people who the article was written about, which is to do with like not paying sticker money and all this kind of shit, that those people are still owning the same.
not
team.
Exactly what. Yeah, I don't want.
That's not exactly what the article
really...
says. There was how to say disputes about the sticker money and delayed salaries.
Did they put out a statement? They say anything?
I mean, they replied to all questions. There's a lot of answers to like.
Maybe I have to read it.
Specific situations. That's the thing. Like, I can't. We can't come on and summarize it because it's a huge piece where like it's based on 20 people or so.
I hate reading.
Of experiences, and there's obviously each one of them has some sort of an answer from them, or almost
you know what,
every one of them.
You can't throw it in like in Gemini and ask it to make a podcast out of it.
What if I read it? What if I live stream and read it for the people? We can get people. People can listen to me read it, and we can and I can like play the roles of certain players. Like I'll do special voices.
Yeah.
And like if I'm talking as the org, I'll talk this way. If I'm talking as the interviewer, I'll talk straight on. If I'm talking as one of the players, with different quotes, and we'll really mix it up.
Thing.
Got some sock puppets. All right.
Give me the sticker money. I'm not giving you the sticker money.
Let's come up with what are the odds? I haven't thought of one. You guys seem pretty. Okay. You guys seem pretty high on the Falcons stuff. Why don't we go with something Falcons related?
I did that
last time already.
Did we?
Yeah, we did like what are the odds they're going to win before the end.
We already say about simple. No, that's not much
Astana.
fun.
What about Mouse?
Just to say, it was FaZe, the last one.
Yeah.
So
the one before we had if Falcons going to win title before the end of the season.
Yeah, that's true. We did do one for that.
We did that one. What about Mouse or the Mongols?
Well, we were talking a lot about FURIA. We could do what are the odds FURIA don't make the playoffs? Do we think it's gotten that bad, or is it not that bad?
No.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Striker was high on Monty. We could do like a whole Monty bit. We could do what are the chances Monty made the playoffs?
Monty Python.
We can do that.
Or we could do like a group one. What are the chances Paravision, Mongols, and Mouse all don't make? Well, no, that's not going to happen. Maybe two of the three wouldn't make the playoffs. That could be possible.
I don't know about Mouse. Something about JL. I'm not sure.
What about JL's performance individually?
Okay, why don't we do? Okay, let's do this. Let's do something about one of the players on Mouse. You want to do JL?
Yeah, let's do JL.
Because Exertion's the one who's taking over the most responsibility. Yep. JL's coming back from time away.
Quite a long time away.
Do we want to do what are the odds JL is in the bottom two lowest rated players of Mouse in Astana? Is that too specific?
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Okay.
You have JL, Exertion, Zelex, potentially Torji. Could be
JL
towards
is
the bottom.
Wow, Lucas, listen to me. JL is in the bottom two lowest rated Mouse players at Astana. Great job, Lucas. You fucking absolutely nailed that. I haven't watched the fucking Come Here episode about Mouse with Hawker.
Yeah, you need to catch up.
It's on my to watch list. I just haven't watched it yet. So they were probably talking about the positions because they're going to have to mix up some roles, right? Zelex is an aggressive rifler. So we know that Zelex and Exertion are still going to be part of the map control pack. Spinks is meant to be the more active of the lurks. I feel like JL is still going to be pretty active. I don't feel like JL is just going to full hard anchor and just fucking sit there.
Yeah,
there's no way.
I think he'll do better than Exertion and Zelex or I think it's a low chance for this. So
you think he'll do better?
I'll do 25%.
Okay. I feel like Spinks is always going to get his, right? So Spinks, I feel, is always going to be one of the top two highest rated players of the team. I feel like for Exertion, this is a lot of added responsibility. So I do worry for him, and I do worry for Zelex. But I watched some of the Zelex's povs and stuff, and he already got to play. Like, it's not like his first time. Like, he got to play Katowice last year, but then I remind myself that he was still
not good though.
Yes, and he's only 17. So that does. So that would mean that I'd have to say I think this kid's going to bot out. I don't know if he's going to bot out. Who are they playing in the opening round? Gentlemates. Gentlemates probably.
That's a dangerous one. Can be a dangerous one.
See Gentlemates picking Ancient and just doing like A rushes and shit.
I would also say it's, yeah, I don't know. For me, it's like a 50-50 type thing. Either it does or it doesn't. Classic.
JL's been playing a bit. I'm going to have faith in the guy. He's a fucking major MVP. I'm going to have some faith in you, JL. Bottom two. So
the thing also is, like, if he's in the bottom two, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad. Like, it could be like a 103 or whatever, you know, and like everything else, everybody else is just like
that's true.
105.
It could be pretty equal.
So it's like, it doesn't say that he's going to be shit. It's just like he's going to be in relation to the rest of the team.
I'm going to back him. I'm going to back him in. I'm going to back JL in. He's a drifter. He drifts cars. He delivers food. He wins major MVPs. He's a man who does it all. I'm going to back him in. I'm going to give him 10%. There's a 10% chance.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm backing him in.
Okay.
You got to have faith. Prof, you've seen the Mighty Ducks. You know what happens in the second movie. They're Team USA. Then they go into the locker room and they're losing. They're losing to Greenland. And everyone thinks that Greenland is covered in green, but it's Iceland. Or maybe they're losing to Iceland, who everyone thinks is covered in ice, but it's green. And regardless, they go into the locker room and the old guy's there and he brings out the box and everyone's down and sad and they're losing because Iceland or Greenland or whatever team they are, they're huge, Prof. They're giant. They look like 25-year-old men. But these are just teenagers playing ice hockey at the Junior Olympics. And guess what, Prof? They bring out the Mighty Ducks jersey. They're not wearing the Olympic jersey anymore. They go back out there because ducks fly together. And JL, in a way, him and I are both ducks. And we're going to quack our way through Astana. So let's go. Up the Mighty Ducks, the flying V, the knuckle puck. And it's fucking, there's such a good line in there that I want to do for Zywoo. I'll let everybody in on it. So there's a figure skater in the movie named Kenny Wu. Now they bring Kenny in because maybe he's the speed skater. Is the speed skater the chick? No, the speed skater is the other guy. Anyway, Kenny Wu, he's kind of like not gymnastics. What do they do on ice? Figure skating. That's what I said.
Yeah.
And he's that guy, right? And he's got some smooth moves. And he scores a goal. And the commentator goes, woo, 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 Kenny Wu. And obviously he tried, but they could do that for Zywoo because he's got Wu in his name too. Anyway,
Could work.
Let's get the fuck out of here. That's What Are the Odds, presented by Stake. Remember to gamble responsibly. Guess what? Prof's going to say something now about a code.
Yeah. You can use the Stake promotion, weekly reload from Stake and HLTV Confirmed. Do I even have to say it? It's the same every week. Claim it via support. Use code HLTV.org for $35 across 7 days. 7 days. And also for people that want to have fun, there's a riddle in the lower part of the screen going out through every episode. There's some good vibes, some extra bonuses that you can lock through that.
And Prof will be starting a Patreon. You guys can catch that. That is as well as an OnlyFans. And
of course,
remember to gamble and look at foot pictures responsibly. Everyone's got feet.
It's going to be turtle-like pictures.
All right, guys. We're done. We're out of here. We've run over again. I've been a bad timekeeper. I'm going to try and keep time better. Next week I won't be here, so we'll have to work something out.
No, yeah, I guess we're skipping for a week.
We might have to skip because you guys are both going to be off.
I'm in Astana. You're in Atlanta.
I'm at home.
And this event,
we're literally on 3 different continents at that point.
Prof's taking all the good stuff.
Yeah, everyone's jelly.
Everyone's excited. All right. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time.